have been and continue to serve their community as first responders. Rich Bertucco in the 27th says to keep kicking butt and doing all you do. Carmen Pruitt, who is a worker at a medical supply company supplying oxygen equipment to our veterans. He is the girlfriend of Cameron Stone in the 57 car. And then lastly is Tenley, of the drivers, I should say, is Tenley Delaney, who is a nurse and mother of Jonathan Delaney, who is driving the 6 car. And then a couple of the names of the names out of Billy Wood Projects wanted us to give a shout out to. So first off is Kelly McRae, who is a nurse, and then Kendra Ash, my apologies, Kendra Ash, and Crystal Lodke, who's a certified nurse assistant. So obviously a lot of people who are helping out, and we appreciate everything you guys do. We hope you're watching tonight, and hopefully you see the driver you want to have a pretty good run here tonight, whether it be family or just someone you're supporting. Regardless, we hope you're cheering them all on, and have a great show here tonight.
33 drivers currently registered tonight. Going to have 267 laps tonight. Stages are going to be split into 80 laps for stage 1, 80 for stage 2. We're going to see 170 laps to conclude the race. So regardless on each run, we're going to have to take into account that guys can't make it on one full load of fuel. Definitely going to see at least one pit stop throughout each stage.
All right, so as we get set here, we have about less than 3 minutes here before qualifying begins, as we're eyeing closer and closer to the A Billion Wood Project Salute the Healthcare Workers 400. Right now, we talked about Eddie Kerner, top of the board with a 29.178. Second on the board at number 23 is Dallas trying to pronounce that right, Pataska, and the number 23, he has a 29.245, followed by Christopher Haman, who ran at 29.280, and then in fourth position is where you find your current points leader, Bryson Hexabar, who ran at 29.288, and running out the top 5, number 88 is Cody Goza with a 29.351.
A lot of good names to look out for. Definitely worth noting, since a lot of these guys are probably in qualifying trim, but track temp is rising today, already at 118 degrees. Tire degradation is going to be absolutely critical. Maintaining your tires, not using up your grip early in the run, because a run here at Kansas Speedway is about 50 to 60 laps. It's quite possible that if you don't maintain your equipment, you're not even going to make it all the way to the end of the fuel run. So it's going to be essential that you maintain those tires tonight.
Absolutely. As you talk about the track temps at 118 degrees, obviously a very hot day here in Kansas, as you expect here around late May, early June. Also, nothing to point out is a little bit of a wind that's coming from the southwest, blowing around 4.5 miles an hour up to 5 miles an hour. Should be a little bit of an interesting thing to see. Don't know how much it's going to affect the cars, but obviously just a little goes a long way here, as we're now just about a minute and 10 seconds left. Drivers putting in those last bit of warm-up laps as they get set here to go racing, as we get ready to see who's going to start on pole and lead us to the green. Bryson Hixenbaugh, usually the fan favorite to get the pole. He's been really bad faster at most of the race. As we talked about, he finds himself running back there in the fourth position. Probably, I'm not sure if he's working maybe on his race trim now after going and figuring out, okay, I got what I want out of qualifying. But it's still really surprising to see him not up there at the top of the charts.
I wouldn't worry about it too much, especially with the competition that's here tonight. Eddie Kerner and Dallas Pataska, both above 6,000 iRating, although Hixenbaugh comes in here tonight with a 5,060 iRating. So a bunch of guys of very high caliber skill here on the oval side of the iRacing service. Near the top of the board. But then we also have Christopher Hammond. He only has a 2,044 iRating. But he's up there fighting with these top dogs. Should be absolutely fun to watch the qualifying session before 400 miles at Kansas today.
Absolutely. Another guy to point out here is the number 7 of Wayne Grassi. I talked about, we also really pointed out last week, he was one of the fastest drivers on the racetrack who came so close to win that race. So it's going to be very interesting to see what we can see out of that 7 Pennzoil Chevrolet. And you see the checkered flag now waves here on our warm-up session as we get ready to see who's going to set the fastest 2 laps here. As we had a little bit of surprise here last minute, number 33 of Tim Rail. Now he's the fastest in the warm-up, so this is going to be very interesting to see what he can pull out here, as a lot of the drivers now pulling off the pit lane to go set their qualifying laps.
It'll be interesting to see if drivers employ any tire warming as they come out of the pit box. The series does not have any automated conduct scrutiny. So what we mean by that is you can race control for iRacing can set an automated system that prevents drivers from trying to heat up their tires as they roll out of pit road to try to gain additional grip, because this could be seen as unfair depending on the circumstances. So drivers can utilize different strategies to try to get those tires up to optimum temperature as they come to the line for 2 laps of qualifying.
Yeah, we'll definitely be seeing, I think we'll be seeing people warm up their tires, considering there's no rule in place to do that. But if people don't and versus people that do, you'll definitely see the difference in times there.
Absolutely, something that we're used to seeing throughout some qualifying rounds, obviously not in the real life NASCAR, but if you ever watched Indy 500 qualifying, they particularly do burnouts exiting the pit road, trying to get those tire temps out as fast as they can. You see Cody Goza, currently your fastest with a 29.720 for his first lap, as Wayne Grossi comes across the line for his first lap. He is third with a 28.840. Move Hixenbaugh here, he comes with a 6.57. He's now the fastest car on the racetrack as he flies through turn number 1 to get ready for his second lap to see if he can go faster. As now, as we roll through, we're going to see a lot of time to see who's going to get bumped and who's going to stay up on the top.
So it's a little bit difficult to determine here, just because are the tires wearing on lap 1 too much that lap 2 isn't going to matter, because it varies from track to track. But it looks like Hixenbaugh sees a 4/10 improvement, top of the board, 29.260, currently up by 0.2. But again, some of the heavy hitters haven't hit their second lap yet. Looks like the second lap is the lap that you won.
Yeah, it looks like Eddie Kerner actually just finished his lap, put him up to P10 right now. So, we were saying he's one to look for right now, but he's currently sitting P10 as he's entering turn 3 now on his second lap.
Yeah, I noticed him coming out of the pit road, and you saw on the broadcast he was very slow, creeping out. There's a little bit of a strategy there. So let's see where he goes. Coming to the line, top of the charts with a 29.101 as the number 98 in his debut. Currently is on pole as he bumps the number 63 Casey Farms store of Bryson Hixenbaugh with a 29.101. He is over a 10th faster than Bryson Hixenbaugh. So early on, we're seeing some fast laps coming out here as we now get to see the field a little bit stretch themselves out to see who starts where, as you're yet to see Eric Wineland as he comes down to set his first lap, screaming across the start-finish line. He goes 16th fastest on his first lap.
Yes, Kerner is definitely no stranger to setting quick times, still up by 1.5 here. But we still have about 10 guys that have yet to set a time. However, race control is not mandating that drivers set a time, I don't believe, tonight.
Yeah, as we're on board here in turn 3 and 4 with Eric Wineland. Looks like he's coming to set a lap here.
Hailing from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, from Pennsylvania.
Yes, he is not fast enough, though. He's going to go 11th fastest, so he's going to find himself starting outside the top 10 as he gets a little loose, going back down to the flat spot on the apron, as now he's going to set his cooldown lap, try to keep that car in one piece. But right now, here's what your top 5 looks like. Eddie Kerner with a 29.101 is your current pole sitter, as he's doing, I believe, is that a backwards drive across the start-finish line, have a little bit of fun here. Bryson Hixenbaugh currently second fastest with a 0.260. Dallas Pataska currently third fastest in that number 23 with a 0.271. Fourth place goes to Matthew Woods with a 0.394, and rounding out your top 5 is the number 88 of Cody Goza with a 29.423. As we are seeing more and more cars at their laps, I believe we have, I'd say, 10 to 15 cars left who haven't set a lap yet, and it doesn't look like many of them are too keen on getting out just yet.
Yeah, a few new guys, it looks like, that aren't going to set a time, such as Tim Reel. I'm sorry, I believe he's the only new driver that hasn't set a time.
Yeah,
However, I'm sorry. But,
sorry, I'm gonna get this
Go
out
ahead.
real quick. I'm sorry. Zach Probst is the guy I'm surprised he hasn't set a lap. He's currently on the bubble for your current chase standings right now. He enters your 16th after a pretty disappointing way to see his race end after, I believe it was a DNF coming out of Charlotte. He comes here tonight, like I said, sitting on a bubble, trying to keep his way into the playoffs. So it's a little interesting to see that he has not set a lap yet, as it looks like he's not going to. Yeah, no, he's going to grid up. He's going to start 29th here today. And as we wrap up qualifying here, we're going to start you off with our starting grid here tonight for the Ability Wood Projects presents the Healthcare Workers 400. As rolling off on pole, as we talked about, in number 98 is Eddie Kerner. Lining up on his outside, you're going to find Bryson Hixenbaugh. Starting on the inside of row number 2 is where you're going to find Dallas Pataska, followed by Matthew Woods in number 48. Rolling off in row 3 is going to be Cody Goza with Cameron Stone. Christopher Herman is going to roll off 7th alongside Brian Mabry. Rich Pachuco is going to start 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is going to be the number 12 of Cam Caldwell.
Sorry about that. I was trying to get my leaderboard pulled up. Starting inside of row 6, Aaron Weiland, and then on the outside of him will be Dalton Mobley. Inside row 7, Tommy Abos, and Wayne Grass. We go back to row 8, Dakota Knoll on the inside. Jeremy Morrison will take the outside. Preston McRae and Nolan Hodson make up row 9 tonight. We go to row 10, end of the top 20, Steven Sims. On the inside, Patrick Much will take 20th. Then we have Alan Wheat on the inside of row 11 in 21st. Brandon Gullet will take, that would be 22nd tonight. Race winner this season, Kevin Steele, will line up in 23rd. 24th, Ryan Samuelson. Daniel Fields in the 25th position. Last person to qualify, although he sets a time of 1 minute and 20 seconds. To the outside of him, Randy Drumhiller. 27th will be Damaris Hickenbottom, who does not set a time tonight, along with Jonathan Delani. Zach Probst in the 29th position, and then outside of him will be Cody Bird.
Yeah, rounding out the rest of the field there, looks like Josh Coppernall, Logan Simmons, and Tim Rail. Rounding out the last of the 33-car field we have here, as we are pacing now here at the Kansas Speedway.
Something notice to point out, Cody Goza actually got a black flag, so now he finds himself with an EOL penalty. Something also to point out is we got a little bit of a chat shout out with Daniel Fields. He actually said he promised to give Kevin a special qualifying lap, which I believe is what we saw with them going backwards on the racetrack, or at least rolling down backwards. Is going to line up last on the grid of the guys who set a time. So pretty interesting stuff to see qualifying. A little bit of fun here, as always, as they come into turn number 3 now. Eddie Kerner, to talk about, is your pole sitter. He's going to be the one to watch as Bryson Hixenbaugh looks to try and make it 8 and make it go back to make the 2-peat again as he rolls off on the outside. Here they go as that pace truck rolls onto the pit road. We're glad to have you with us here tonight as we get set for 400 miles as we enter the restart zone. And green flag is out and we're underway. And there they go. Eddie Kerner is going to roll off with the race lead, about a half car length jump on that number 63 of Bryson Hixenbaugh. Dallas Pataska in the number 23 is going to line up right beside him as they're going to go 2 by 2 into turn number 1 as they're starting to fan out. A little bit of a close action going on there with Dylan Wineland as he wasn't too happy with his qualifying run. I'd imagine he's going to fall back going off of turn number 2 as right now Eddie Kerner with the early race lead as they set off into turn number 3.
As expected, that outside line definitely struggled off of the restart, with Bryson Hixenbaugh falling back to 3rd position off the start, but he's using that outside line to already mount a run on 2nd place. Pataska in trouble. It's going to be interesting to see as drivers go up to the high line, because we've conventionally here at the Kansas Speedway with the Cup car, the inside line is only effective for a few laps just due to the intense tire wear, and the top line becomes the way to go normally. We'll see how that plays out here over this run.
Yeah, further on back, it looks like we see Bryson using the top line here, and it looks like further back, you know, probably about 10, 12 car lengths back, there are cars back there also using the high line. But as you said, you won't really see it play effect much right now, but further on into a run, expect to see these cars go up to the high side.
Sorry about that. And as you talk about going to the high side, this is what we're seeing right now. Is here comes 63 Bryson Hexenbaugh. He's going to look to the outside of number 23 of Dallas Pataska. They're side by side. He's going to clear him actually, as now he sets off with a run into turn number 3 to the high side. He goes trying to make it work. I don't think it's going to happen. No, it will not. As the 98 is going to pull up right in front of him and keep that lead. He's going to lead lap number 2. Here comes Hexenbaugh to the inside. Side by side they go. The number 98 is going to lead the lap, but Hexenbaugh is going to take the lead and set the fastest lap as they scream off into turn number 1. As here comes Kerner back to the inside. They're going to go side by side down the back straightaway here at Kansas.
Already to the point, 7-time race winner this season, Bryson Hexenbaugh, my apologies there, using that high line to his advantage, while his competitors really haven't moved up there up top yet. Although we do see in fourth place that Eric Wineland is quickly making his move to the front. So I have to wonder if these guys are really using their equipment to try to get track position early here in this first stage, which is 80 laps.
Yeah, using up equipment is a big factor here. As you can see, the top 5, I mean, you can really just kind of throw them under a blanket here. They are really, really close as Bryson goes back to the top side here, as Eddie Kerner stays on the bottom, gets a big run out of turn 4 here, as he's going to go back to the top side here. But yeah, using your equipment up, saving your tires is really going to play a factor here. As you said, about a run's probably about, 60 laps here?
And as you see, going back into turn number 1, Hexenbaugh going to stay committed to that top line. Expect to see him there most of the race. Right now, it is about a 2-car, a little bit of a breakaway as a 23, a little bit further ways back. As you talk about Dylan Wineland, he started in the outside of top 10, quickly making his name known as he finds himself in the 4th spot. But he has a tag of cars behind him. I believe that is Richard Pachuco right behind him, followed by Matthew Stone. Indeed, it is. They're side by side back there for the 6th position, or 5th position, my bad, as they run back into turn number 1. Right now, your top 5 still Hexenbaugh, Kerner, Pataska, Wineland, and Stone, as he's going to take back the fifth spot as they go back down the back straightaway. Richard Pachuco not too far behind that 48 University of Kentucky Chevy, though. He's creeping up on the back bumper of him. He had a pretty good run going last week at Charlotte, but sadly fell off towards the midway point of the race. He's looking for redemption in his own right, as right now that top 7 pack of cars is starting to break away from 8 on back. We start to see early on in this run, actually, the field's starting to spread themselves out as they look to try and get a green flag run going.
Definitely seen some of the effects of NASCAR's high downforce, low horsepower package here. The top 7, while they've been able to pull away from the rest of the pack, are still racing in a pretty tight pack and are able to use multiple lines. Pretty impressive here early on, as we see that University of Kentucky car of, that would be Matthew Woods. I'm sorry, it would be... Yeah, Matthew Woods drops behind Rich Petrucco here. Petrucco up to the 6th position, while Woods falls back to 7th early on from his 4th position starting spot.
Yeah, as you guys keep saying, the top 7 are just separated about 1.2 seconds here, as they are utilizing many different lines. As first using the top line, and 2nd and 3rd using the bottom, and really just further on back and forth, you're just really just utilizing many different lines, trying to see where they can get the speed here. As you see here, 2nd and 3rd use the bottom, as Bryson, the leader, is on top, as he tries to get around on the bottom and just slides back in behind him because he can't really go anywhere right now.
I was trying to get a word in. I was waiting for you to finish up there. They're actually 3 wide going back there around Alan Hewitt. I believe that is Kevin Steele as well. And then Steven Sims. No, I believe that is... Trying to figure out who that is that was with them. They're running about 3 wide with each other back on there down the front straightaway, and I thought a wreck was about to happen, as I believe that was Steven Sims got really close to taking out the rest of the field with them. Actually, no, that wasn't him. You see the damage to the rear end. They're coming into turn number 1, and 3 wide is not going to work here on this racetrack, and he slid right up in the line. I thought that 21 car was going to go for a ride, which would not be the way to go with that beautiful Peter Max car. Seems to be a little bit of a theme going on here. Last week he ran that chrome car for the Dale Earnhardt paint scheme. Now this week he finds himself running that beautiful Peter Max paint scheme. He finds him running out in the 20th position, but currently I believe right now your biggest mover is that 162 of Zach Probst. He did not set a qualifying lap. He started on the grid 29th. He currently has gained over 10 spots, running up in the 16th position. I was pointing out a little bit of the fact that he did not set a qualifying lap, and it was a little bit sus, especially with the fact that he's on the bubble for the chase standings coming in here. But right now he finds himself with a pretty good start, as he's up in the 16th. But right now back out front is still Hexenbaugh with the lead over Eddie Kerner as they are side by side going into turn number 1. As here comes the 98 trying to peek a little bit. They're going to go, nope, he's not going to get him. He's going to clear him off of turn number 2. So you talked about the outside line not really working that well, but right now Hixenbaugh is proving every one of us wrong as he is making it work against that number 98.
Yeah, that inside line and outside line are go, and we do have our first caution of the night here at Kansas Speedway. Going to try to find the cause of the incident here.
I believe it was Tim Reel in the number 33 car. He was very slow. No, it doesn't seem like it was him. My apologies. I'm trying to figure out myself. He was very slow going on the back straight. But yeah, very interesting to see a caution as we come out here on lap 13. Is now that's going to maybe throw a little bit of pit strategy going on in here.
Looks like the 21 and the looks like Demarcus Hickenbottom were involved in that. Demarius, I'm sorry.
It's a little hard to tell. There's a bit of a glitch on the iRacing software where once you get to about, say, 30 cars, not all the cars will appear for some reason, even if you have your just caught some of the incident on my own replay.
Oh, you can see it up on the video board right there. Yeah, very rough incident for those 3 drivers that's coming up at turn 2. I'm trying to see who that was who got into contact with them. That was the 46 of Patrick Mucci. As he had a little bit of an incident coming up at turn number 2. He just hit the wall and just massive checkup right in front of the field, and that takes out that Peter Max car, rips off the front end. Hickenbottom gets a piece of it too, as that's going to take quite a few cars out of contention early on in this race, as now they're going to try and have to rebound their way up here, as now I finally have it up on my replay. He was really high off at turn number 2. That's not the lap I have. So yeah, as you see, just a rough way to start as we go back live. Eddie Kerner right now exiting the pit lane. He is your leader. I believe someone actually beat him out of the pit. Now it's Tim Reel, I believe, who came in a lap prior. So yeah, Eddie Kerner is going to beat out Bryson Hixenbaugh out of the pit lane. So we have a swap for the lead here. Cameron Stone's going to find himself up in the 3rd spot. So he's making a big move. Dallas Pataska is going to fall back to 4th. And Eric Winelands now is going to take over to the 5th spot.
It's definitely looking like we have 3 guys that are stepping up from the rest of the field, even if they haven't been able to pull away from those top 7 or so cars. Definitely Dallas Pataska, Eddie Kerner, Bryson Hixenbaugh all seem to have a slightly better pace than the rest of the field here early on. Of course, it's a long race, a lot of chances to get onto differing strategies from the leaders and try to take advantage of the opportunity for multiple strategies.
Yeah, Eddie Kerner actually just went through the grass there. But looks like the top 3's definitely got something, or actually the top 4's got something figured out here. But yeah, as you said, we got 267 laps here as we just take lap 16 under caution, so anything can happen. We haven't really gotten to a long run yet, so we haven't seen what these cars are really capable of doing yet. So just stay tuned and we'll see what these guys can get a hold of doing.
Yeah, when we talked about Wayne Grassley last week, he started 14th here today. He's found himself up to 9th. I'm going to keep my eye on him because he surprised a lot of us last week. But right now we talk about he made his debut last week and had quite a performance. And then now this week, as we said, Eddie Kerner, he making his debut. You guys already talked about the fact that he's no newbie by any means. He might have the rookie stripes here, but it doesn't mean he has the rookie stripes in iRacing, as he's actually one of the drivers racing to become a pro licensed driver, which is very hard to do here on iRacing, but he's trying to make it work. 6 in the points in the Road to Pro Series, is now he finds himself in that little bit of a tie-dye machine currently with the race lead over Hixenbaugh, as those 2 right now seem to be the class of the field. Wineland is a guy to keep an eye on. He started back there in 11th. He finds himself up in the 5th. He's a guy who really challenged Hixenbaugh, gave him a run for his money last week at Charlotte. So it's going to be very interesting what he can do. Like I said, just watch out for that 7 car because he's going to come out of nowhere maybe and just start making moves and find himself back up in that top 5, because he started last a week ago, and all of a sudden you just see him running up there in the top 5 by lap, I would say 110. So, and like you said, anything can happen, but expect a lot of hard chargers coming in around the midpoint of this race.
Definitely what I'd be expecting tonight. Grassy up 5 spots so far tonight from the 14th starting position into that top 10 already. We're already looking at strategy here as we head into the, well, we're still in the early stages of the first stage, but we're looking at about 63 laps to go here. I believe we'll be coming to 63 here. So I don't believe drivers are going to be able to make it to the end of this stage without having to pit one more time. So that really opens up the amount of opportunities that drivers have in terms of when during this first stage that they want to pit, with the end of the stage being lap 80.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they'll be able to actually make it down here. As you see, the pace truck pulls off into the pit lane here as we are green taking lap 18 here. Eddie Kerner on the point gets a really nice jump down the front straightaway as we head into turn 1.
Eddie Kerner with about a 3-car length gap going to turn number 1. I believe that is Richard Perchurko. No, it's Cameron Stone on the 57. He gets a really good jump as Dallas Pataska is going to find himself in third. He's going to move to the inside, try to go to third spot. Hixenball falls back to 4th as Wineland back there in the 5th position is really fighting hard with Perchurko for that final top 5 spot as he's going to clear him going into turn number 3. A really big stack of going on there between 2nd and 4th position, as right now Eddie Kerner is starting to run away with this thing again, as we saw in the early portion of this race, as Dallas Pataska is really putting on the moves to Cameron Stone to try and keep him behind him as they fall back down into turn number 1 and 2 down the back straightaway as they start to single file out again.
Really beginning to see already on the second restart of the day. Oh, and we do have a caution.
Cautions, I guess, as now we're back under yellow as I try to find out who that was.
Jonathan Delani involved in that 6 car.
Oh, one car just came bouncing off. Oh, there's a big pile up going on there. Yes, if you look on the replay, the number 75 of Logan Simmons going in all the way back to turn number 1 got loose. You see on a replay, he got a little tail happy going in there to turn number 1, had a really big pack behind him, tried to save it. Here comes that 17, just going to smack him in the rear because he had nowhere to go. And then just, pardon my French, all hell just breaks loose as everyone trying to avoid him. But even though it's about a 3-wide car track, it's just when those cars go flying, you have nowhere to go. See the rear end goes, oh, here goes Zach Probst. He got involved. Now what he wanted to see is he's trying to strengthen his way back into the point standings, running 16th. He gets involved, but that's the front end of that 75 car just ripped off as right now he is sitting on pit road waiting for a tow to get back there. Delaney also involved. Rough way to see him go. Zach Probst himself, it looks like he's still on the racetrack. He's going to come in this time by to get service, try to get that car along with the 17 of Christopher Hamann, who we talked about was one of the faster guys early on in the race and practice session. Not the way he wanted to see his race go, is now looking back on the helicopter cam, just got loose. 17 had nowhere to go and just causes a huge stack up for cars with nowhere to go.
Not uncommon to see cars get loose like that early in a run here at any 1.5 mile track that stock cars will go to. Especially with the current tire model that we see in iRacing, tires that are cold, really, drivers do really tend to struggle for grip as opposed to previous versions of iRacing's tire model for the oval cars. Unfortunate to see cars taken out so early in a race that's 400 miles long, but even these guys with damage, despite the fact that they could be losing a lot of time as a result. Nothing wrong with trying to stay in the race, pick away. If it's a race with high attrition, you could easily end up in the top 20 or even better.
Yeah, especially reiterating what you said about the cold tires and being loose here. Ever since we started, it looks like the track temp's actually gone up more. So we're actually sitting at a track temp of 116 degrees right now. And especially, you're on a hot track, and especially on cold tires, you are going to be fighting the car depending on how it's set up. So depending on how you do it, your car will be pretty damn loose.
Yeah, it actually went down 2 degrees. If I'm correct, it was 118 degrees back during practice. Now it's down to 116, partly thanks to the cloudy skies that are drifting over the Speedway right now. Right now, the actual air temp is 67 degrees Fahrenheit, so not a really hot day, but not really a cold day either. Just a perfect breed of what you want for a good race here. Like we talked about, the southwest wind coming in about 3 miles an hour. There's just a lot of variation to this track, but as the clouds are to come in, the track temps are going to go low, but we're going to see the off and on as the sun peaks out and then goes back behind. It's just a lot of varying issues that these drivers are going to have to face here. But nothing compared to last week we saw at Charlotte with the sun up and sun down that you see in those 600 miles.
Still absolutely lovely to see a lot of the dynamic components of modern iRacing software, simulator, whatever you'd like to call it. Well, there's some issues with it now. Tracks are modeled in a dynamic manner, meaning a track is intended to get wider, as you'll see in real life at a track like Kansas Speedway, where if a track starts where it's only one lane, you will see it widen out over time. And dynamic weather is also something new. Definitely seeing a lot of differences in cloud cover. We can see, completely blue skies, or it can be an overcast day with a lot of grip, and we can see that change over the course of this session, considering it has dynamic skies. We have dynamic sky, dynamic skies in this race today.
Yeah, dynamic skies, dynamic weather, plays a major factor, as you said here, because cloud cover will play a major difference, as it'll help cool the track down, which helps the racing get a lot better. I mean, preferably if I'm racing, I enjoy a lot of cloud cover because it makes it more interesting. It helps pack racing become more of a thing, but not everybody likes pack racing. But that's something I kind of like because it makes it more interesting. It gives you more things to watch, and you got to be on your toes more.
Absolutely, as now the lights are out on that pace truck as you make their way down that back straightaway into turn number 3. So as we talked about, is the number 98 of Eddie Kerner out here with the early race lead. Actually, an update on Bryson Hicksonbaugh. I believe he pitted under the last caution. He finds himself deep within the pack back there in the 13th position. We're going to see how he's going to do as here they come. Coming through turn number 4 this time by, we're going to see that Chevrolet Silverado take the dive on the pit lane as we await to go back racing. Lap 24 is what it's going to be when we cross start finish line, as here they go, the field bunching back up. Will we see that 98 car get a run? Yes, we will. He's going to jump on an early green flag back out. He's going to pull away with a giant lead as they head off into turn number 1.
Leader has a massive advantage being able to control the restart here on iRacing, as he's going to pull out to a lead that's nearly 10 car lengths over Cam Caldwell, who overtakes Dallas Patoska. Patoska starting in second place. Again, the outside line really struggles off the restart here.
Yeah, actually going into turn 1 there, we actually had 3 wide a little bit going back into 1 there, but it looks like they all got it sorted out here.
And as they come flying off of turn number 4, in my eyes, again, I would assume some of you guys are, is when I think of Hicksonbaugh, he's making the top line work again. He went flying off into turn number 1 when it made it 3 wide and made it stick. Now he's going to try and make a run. He's already gained 3 spots. He's making the charge on that number 55 as they come off of turn number 2. Not too far ahead of him is that pink car of Wineland. He's going to try and make a run on him as they go off into turn number 3. Oh, big stack up there. I believe it has the 46 right in front of him. That's going to really help with the 63 as he's going to maybe get a 2 for 1. Not yet. He's going to clear the 55 going down front straightaway. Stick right behind the number 31 and stuck up in the draft, and now he's going to clear that number 44 of Kevin Steele as they fly back down to the turn number 1, but still out front and starting to pull away is that number 98 of Eddie Kerner.
Hicksonbaugh absolutely digging here early in this run. Only 2 laps in, and he's already up about a half a dozen spots up to the 9th position here so far. But as you said, Noah, Kerner has already gone by about half a second here over Dallas Patoska, as perhaps we're starting to settle in here for our first long run of the night. A little early to tell, but we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, it looks like Bryson's just slicing spots away here on that high side as he's making a run here out of turn 2 down the back. Looks like he's going to advance another spot here. He's really proved us wrong about that high side early on this race.
Yeah, and that's how you get those 7 wins that we talked about in the pre-race. Having 7 wins, it is no surprise that he's able to make that topside work. We weren't really expecting to see the topside work either at Charlotte. He was one of the guys that surprised us there making the topside work early on in the race, and now he's doing it here too. Just riding on rails on the top side all the way up near the fence as he gets a big run going down the back straightaway, creating about a 3-car length gap over Wineland. As now he goes up to Jeremy Morrison off of the turn number 3. A huge run coming out at turn number 4 this time. He's going to get all over the back bumper. That's 22. As he might get up behind his back bumper going to turn number 1. Might see him move if there's a checkup as they fly back into turn number 1. The gap actually between the lead has now closed. Dallas Pataska is starting to get a little bigger in the mirror of that number 98 as he tries to pull a run on himself. As right now we see a 2-car breakaway between Pataska and Kerner, as Caldwell is right now having a mirror full of Richard Petrucco. And not too far behind them, as we talked about, is Hixenbaugh. As we now a lap after we talked about him, he's all over the back bumper of Jerry Morrison. He's going to look to the outside, coming down the front straightaway.
Lots of action here early in the run here at Kansas Speedways. We're currently taking a look here at, excuse me.
That is Richard Petrucco.
Thank you, Richard Petrucco in the 27 car here. All over the back of Caldwell. So Caldwell did restart in the 3rd position, made his way up past Pataska at the start of the run, but starting to dip a little bit here. That Red Bull sponsored machine in the 27 is already making his way to the inside looking for that 3rd position. Closing very quickly on the top 2. Within a second of the top 2 right now.
Yeah, as you can see what's going on a little bit behind them, they were actually their own little pack there as they're now getting a little situated as the 27 makes the pass here as we are down the back going into turn 3.
And going back into turn number 1, as you saw on the screen right there, Hixenbaugh trying to make the move there on that number 79 of Nolan Hodgson, trying to pronounce that name correctly, is now he has gone from 13th. He's back in the top 5, still running that top side on there. Guys, see how it's going to affect his tires later in the run as he is pushing it early, trying to close the gap to Cam Caldwell as he is eyeing closer and closer to Eddie Kerner. But right now, Eddie Kerner, he's opened the gap back up to about over a second as now Pataska is within the grasp of Richard Petrucco, who might take over that 2nd spot. But now that here Exabyte thing to do about it, he's going to dive down to the apron. He's side by side with Caldwell. He might clear him going into turn number 1 as we're going to see him work the inside lane for the first time since the green flag run. As here he goes. Is he going to clear him? He's all stuck in the back bumper. Petrucco is going to have to check up maybe a little bit as now the 16 cars are going to go side by side down the back straightaway as they head off into turn number 3.
Hixenbaugh stays with that 12 car here yet. We enter the middle of 3 and 4, side by side yet. Caldwell continuing to fall from his 3rd place restart position and behind that 63 machine. We haven't talked about him much yet today, but Nolan Hodgson making his way potentially up to the top 5 here. We get around a little bit of traffic 3 deep with that 6 machine of Jonathan Delani, suffered from damage in an earlier incident. Hixenbaugh, 4th position, 12 car coming back to the outside of Caldwell into 3.
Yeah, there's a bit of a cluster there behind them as they're trying to get around all these cars. Looks like the 27 is making a run on the bottom here as Petrucco making a run for a second here, but he can't quite clear him yet as he pulls up behind him as we enter turn 1 here.
Yeah, and while this big stack up happens, that's really going to bunch this field up as they are just dogfighting for that runner-up spot. But yeah, remember, this runner-up spot, Eddie Kerner has really set off with the race lead now. He is seeing this in his mirror and is like, keep doing this. Come on, keep doing that. I am absolutely running away with this thing as right now he is on a move as he's going to cross the start-finish line. I'm going to see where timing and scoring says he is as he comes across the start-finish line. Almost 2 seconds is the lead to him to 2nd place as Pataska is still holding on to a big fight there with Petrucco in the 27 car. Hixenbaugh has moved his way back up to 4, so they're going to almost go 3 wide back there for the 6th spot, I believe that is, as Wineland's in a really tough fight with Cameron Stone and Nolan Hodgson, as now those two are in a really, really heated fight, as now the 22 of Morrison is going to try and throw his hat into the fray.
Coming to take
Hodgson gets
Oh, we got a car on the wall.
That is Hodgkinson. He came off of turn number 4. Who's going to be stopped right in the middle of the racetrack? I don't know how that's not a caution. Oh, and he gets slammed. He left his foot off the brake, came down on the apron, and that just absolutely tore those 3 cars apart. I don't know how a caution took that long to come out sitting in the middle of the front stretch. I don't know if that was a game caution or an admin caution. But regardless, a very scary moment for the 79 car as he came off of turn number 4. A lot of understeer, slapped the outside wall, tried to save as much as he can, and then I'm going nose first into the tri-oval wall, and then it just brought it to a stop with so many cars trying to avoid him as fast as they can, but to no avail, as now that pink number 79 car gets every bit of that thing ripped off, as now he is running on the bottom of the apron off of turn number 2, limping it back to pit road.
Yeah, Hodgson collected, it appears to be Cody Gaza, who started the race in the 5th position here today, but he's definitely going to suffer some critical damage. And then also getting involved there Daniel Fields, who I believe was also already involved in an incident today. A lot of attrition. Couldn't think of the word there. Early in the race here at Kansas, guys having a difficult time settling in here. We have 400 miles here, but long way to go. Hopefully, we get some green flag running in Kansas.
Yeah, hopefully we get all the wrecking out here in the early going, as we are on lap 38 of 267. Yeah, I'm not really quite sure what happened there. I don't know if he just got loose going into the trial over there, but just very unfortunate. The two cars that got collected, and that Daniel Fields just had nowhere to go, running the apron there, and just absolutely obliterated him. So that is probably the end of his night, as he blew up and has no front end on that 66 machine.
And as we go back live, you see the pit stops now going back underway as all the field is going to take that pit stop here at the halfway point and get that out of the way. As here they go, as here comes the 98 of Eddie Kerner. He's going to win a race off of pit road. Cameron Stone on amazing pit stop again. He finds himself running out second. Hixenbaugh runs the same about fourth as the field now comes back on the pit road. My bad. That is, I believe that is, no, that is not Cameron Stone. That is Dal Tasca. There's a lot of black cars here that are throwing me off. But right now it seems to be Kerner, Pataska, Richard Pachuco is going to roll off back in third. Hixenbaugh going to keep on the fourth, and Cam Caldwell going to rebound. He's going to hold on to fifth as they now are going to try and catch up to that pace truck. As I believe we're going to go back to a commercial break, as we'll be right back here for the Billion Woods Project presents the Healthcare Workers 400. Welcome back, race fans, as we are about to go green here again at Kansas, just right about at the halfway point of stage number one. As we've expected, Eddie Kerner still with the race lead as that pace truck kind of to take the hard left on the pit road. All eyes on that tie-dye Ford as he's going to get that big jump again. Here they go. Green flag back in the air as we're on our way towards past the halfway point of stage number 1, as they just said. Petrucco holding on to the race lead. He's going to go fighting Pataska back off of the turn number 1. Hixenbaugh going to try and make a move back there for the 3rd spot, but to no avail. He's going to have to fall back in line, and now the 27 and the 23 are all over side by side as they go down the back straightaway, as once again that 98 of Eddie Kerner starting to pull away with the race lead.
For the first time tonight, the car starting 2nd place off the restart does not lose the 2nd place position, as Dallas Pataska is still hanging in there with Rich Petrucco. He finally clears him as we head through the trial. Will put Pataska 2nd place, Petrucco 3rd, and Hixenbaugh, restarting 13th a couple of restarts ago, already back up to the top 5.
Yeah, Hixenbaugh using that top line to his advantage here, as it looks like he's actually getting a run down the back straight into 3. Looks like he might get a run here as the 23 actually stays on the top line here, taking his line away. So as he clears the path for 3rd, so we will see what he gets going as we go down into turn 1.
And as I talked about under caution, a couple cautions ago, actually, number 7 of Wayne Grassi, he started back in around the 13th, outside the top 10. He finds himself running in the 8th spot, all over the back bumper of Caldwell and Morrison, as he's trying to make a move. Like I said, watch out for these late race charges, as he's going to try and make a move and going to turn number 3, going to fall back in line, maybe set him up for the trial over here, going to see what he does. But right now, Hixenbaugh finds himself back up in the 3rd spot, maybe look for a move over Dallas Pataska, as though the top 3 that we've been talking about, now they're back going 1, 2, 3. Eric Wineland, he's also trying to throw his hat into the fray. He finds himself back up there in the 5th position, fighting off Cameron Stone and Petrucco, as he's stuck in a little bit of a 3-car sandwich there, as the 3-car breakaway of the 98, 23, and 63 is starting to take shape here as they roll off of turn number 4 to complete lap number 45.
Grassi got very loose out of 2 there, but he's going to hold on to the 9th position for now. Oh, excuse me. I believe he crosses the line in the 8th position, currently earning 3 stage points if the stage were to end right now. We, as Noah was saying, Hixenbaugh very consistently making his way back front. We have a lead change. Dallas Pataska takes the lead. Kerner back to 3rd with Hixenbaugh right in tow. Only about a car length or 2 back from that 23 machine.
Yeah, you want to talk about cars getting a little loose there. The 12 machine of Cam Caldwell about looped it the last 2 laps ago, as he's now fallen back to 12th place as he was in the top 10.
Yeah, and that's what you saw at Eddie Kerner too. He got a little bit of an understeer going into turn number 1 and just decided to back it off. He falls back in line to the 3rd spot, as now we see again early on in the run a new leader poking out. Pataska to 23, a new name that you're going to see here in the series. He finds himself with the race lead. Hixenbaugh now back up to 2nd. As you talk about, Kerner falls back to 3rd. Cameron Stone in 4th, and Wineland not too far behind, ring in the 5th spot. Richard Petrucco is going to round it out 6th. 7th where we find Jerry Morrison. 8th is Wayne Grassi. Christopher Hamon made a really good little bit of a rebound there after that last incident he had under that caused the caution. He's now in 9th, and then Kevin Steele, who had a really rough end to his, I wouldn't say end, he just had a really rough race in general. He now finds himself in the 10th spot as he's fighting Cam Caldwell, and I believe that the 40 Matt Woods for that final top 10 spot.
Side by side yet again for the 2nd position. Kerner definitely not giving up despite, as you said, a bit of understeer for the 98 we wanted to a couple laps ago, but he's still digging on the bottom, unlike the top 2 here.
Yeah, he's making that bottom work, but he can't find the sweet spot per se, as the 63 is just making that top line work. I expect now, as we are further into the race and there's some rubber laid down on the track, that the high line would now actually be coming into play. But as you see now, more cars are running up top as we predicted, but they've been running up there the whole race, and it seems like the dominant line.
Yeah, something that we saw about last week with actually Hixenbaugh. He had a race lead at the start of the race and held on to it, but once he fell back into that dirty air, he was not able to make it work or even make a run going. That's what we're seeing out of the 98 car. Really good car if he gets it out in that clean air out in the front, but once he gets stuck back there, only way he's going to be able to make a move if he has someone down on the bottom that he can push him a little bit going into the corners. Because right now, as you see, the 23 car of Dallas Pataska, he falls down low. That's going to give the 63 of Brian Hixenbaugh Bryson Hickenbaugh, my apologies. He's gonna take over the race lead as now the 98 and the 23 are side by side going to turn number 3. He hit Pataska still falling back as now he's fighting Cameron Stone for the 3rd spot. As now here comes Wineland, maybe going to take over the 4th spot. So the 23 car having some big issues right now as he is just falling down the running order as they catch up to Delaney in the 6th car again as they roll off into turn number 1. Some more lap traffic playing a role as the field now getting really bunched up because of that. It was a huge checkup caused by the 23 as now there is a dogfight for the race lead between the 98 and the 63 as they are side by side going to turn number 3.
It looked like Pataska got a little bit of understeer coming out of turn 2, but we are side by side for the lead. Eddie Kerner on the inside, Hickenbaugh on the outside, still dead even as we head into turn 1. No one with the advantage. 63 about a half a car length off of that outside wall. Kerner draws ahead mid-corner. Hickenbaugh back to the point down the back straightaway. Kerner falls back in line. We have settled it for now.
Yeah, that top line is definitely the preferred line coming out of the corner with that big run they get out of the corner. As you can see here, he just pulls and surges ahead of the 98 here as we cross the line for 26 laps to go in the stage.
Yeah, and the thing I'm noticing about Eddie Kerner, he gets that run going to turn number 1, but he's not able to make the move because he just can't clear him, so he has to back off to avoid taking him and the 63 car out. So that's really putting a damper on his parade as he still finds himself stuck in 2nd. But again, keep your eye out back there on the 3rd spot, that pink number 31 of Dylan Wineland, he finds himself shooting up from the 5th spot up to the 3rd spot. So he started 11th. He has made a charge up. He finds himself on the 3rd step of the podium as he's making a charge toward the 98. So the top 2 drivers we've seen in the series so far of that 31 and 63 who are actually 1-2 in the points are now about to put off. Here comes the 31. He's in the wall. He goes flying down to the apron. He holds on to a green flag is still out, but that's going to really hurt him as now he has that right side damage. He's going to fall back to 5th. But look who's not too far behind him. Wayne Grassi, he finds himself in the 7th spot. He's making his own bit of a charge as now he's trying to catch up to Wineland. Like we talked about in the pre-race, those two had a bit of a run-in late in the race at Charlotte. So Grassi trying to make a little bit of a comeback and get redemption for what happened a week ago to try and rebound and get a better finish for himself to prove why he belongs here. But as we talked about at the top of the field, Hickenbaugh and Kerner still fighting with each other down the back straightaway as they're looking to go side by side into turn number 3.
It looked like Wineland, as we continue to experience coming out of turn 2, got a little bit tight on exit. Jess got the wall. Not a critical amount of damage, but the save that he pulled off was incredibly impressive, and it definitely saved his race. Definitely salvageable. He's not out of the running here. Hickenbaugh maintaining a steady pace, consistently 1 or 2 car lengths. Kerner continues to look on the inside most corners on entry, comes back up about a car length or 2 behind the 63. Repeat cycle.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to work that bottom. You know, I don't think it's really doing him any good right now, but it looks like we're actually coming up on some lap traffic, so we'll have to see how Eddie Kerner plays into this lap traffic. Will he try to use them as a pick, or will he just fall in line behind and try and go from there?
Well, he's not able to do either because those two are side by side going after number 3. There are 3 wide, really big issues. That's going to give a really big help to the 63 as that's going to hold up the 98 as now he is getting a really big push as they had the 20 laps to go here for stage number 1. So now the 63 cars are, oh, we have a flip. Hewitt on his roof. That's going to take out Cameron Stone and take out a huge pack of the field as they bunch up into turn number 1. Wineland makes it through. Morrison makes it through. I believe, did Wayne Grassi get a piece of it? No, he did not. More cars spinning out as chaos breaks down the front straightaway as those 2 lap cars just took out a huge portion of the field.
A lot of contenders. He's going to get a little bit of damage as he goes into the inside wall. We also see the 23 at Dallas Pataska also involved. Doesn't appear to have critical damage. It's going to be a little bit difficult to tell until he gets back down to pit road. A little bit of damage on the left front for the 23. We take a look at the replay here. Looks like Gaza comes up the track. Not sure if he thinks it looked like he was anticipating the 5 being a little bit higher up the track. Sorry, the 15. Bit of a miscalculation there, and unfortunately going to take out a couple of contenders as well as each other. We're going to enter pit road with about 20 laps to go. So we should see a restart with at least 15 laps to go here before the end of stage 1 at Kansas Speedway for the Galaxy Cup.
Yeah, with a good thing, with the restart here with about 20 to go, it's going to make everyone on their toes to try and get those extra stage points. Especially everyone's going to come in now and put some fresh tires on these cars, and it's really going to make the restart interesting. And the last 20 laps of the stage, it's really going to be something to watch.
Yeah, you looked on the replay, you saw Pataska, he got a little bit of a contact with someone going into turn number 1. He almost saved that. He came really close to saving that, but sadly the car just overcorrected and went head first in the outside wall. Real hard hit to him. The 15 car, who just got door checked going through the tri-oval, he ends up on his roof. Not the way he wanted to see it go, as he had a top 10 finish last week at Charlotte. So his race coming in down here in the Alaska Airlines number 15. That's going to take out a lot of contenders in here, as Cameron Stone, who had a really good run, now he's on the outside looking at his look back live. Eddie Kerner gets the jump on Hicksonbaugh. So now we have a lead change again on pit road, as now the 98 car is going to lead him back to the field. And more than likely, if Hicksonbaugh hasn't figured out his plan already, he might try and anticipate the start and get side by side with him, depending on if whether or not Kerner either wants to play mind games and wait a little bit longer to try and catch him off guard, or if he's going to try and jump that start as he's been doing for, I believe, like the last 4 or 5 cautions now.
A little bit difficult to determine. It's early in the race, and Kerner hasn't seemed to be wanting to play any games off of the restart, but by mixing it up early could, affect the unpredictability later in the race. So can make Hicksonbaugh really question things if he's mixing up when he decides to go on the restart every single restart.
Yeah, mind games can definitely play a factor on these restarts, but just from what I've seen of Eddie and previous sessions that I've seen him race in and stuff, he tends to typically stay on the same schedule. So I think he'll just keep going like he was, and then maybe if we go later on in the race, he might be doing some extra stuff like that.
And thanks to that caution, that really shook up the field a little bit. Yeah, as you see, Nolan Hodgkinson, he's actually 16 laps down, believe it or not, after that incident he had like a couple, I believe 16 laps ago. He's now going to get the free pass and try to do the wave around. But right now, here's how it stacks up. Wayne Grassi finds himself up in the 3rd spot. He's the biggest mover on pit road. He was running back in 7th. Now he finds himself in 3rd. Just like I was talking about, keep an eye on him. He's making it known. Kevin Steele in the 44, he promotes himself up to the 4th spot. So again, a really good rebound after last week's disappointing finish of over 100 laps down. He finds himself in the 4th spot, which is what we kind of expected out of him. Cam Caldwell still holding on to that 5th spot pretty well after kind of, I would say, tackling this course and trying to hold on as much as he can, as he's been struggling with that number 12 car throughout most of stage 1. Jeremy Morrison runs out in 6th. But an update on a couple of the drivers that we were looking at throughout the race, I believe Eric Wineland, I'm not sure where he lines up. Right now it shows him back there in the 14th position. He is way back in the field. Now you're just going to try and hold on to get maybe some stage points out of that. I'm going to try and get an update on Cameron Stone. He is 2 laps down, still sitting on pit road, so I believe his day's done. Same news for Richard Protaska. He's actually disconnected, so that's a DNF. So really rough to see that race go for him, as he had such a good performance. Now we are 1 to green here, as now it's going to be Kerner and Hicksonbaugh, as we have to see how those two are going to shake up as they go on the restart, whether or not, as we talk about, Kerner wants to try and throw him off guard a little bit. Is he going to stick to what he's been doing, or is Hicksonbaugh going to hold on to him? And we're going to see a fight in the last 15 or so laps to see who's going to get this stage win.
On that last restart, we saw for the first time the outside line perhaps starting to get a grasp of how to control that 2nd place position and not lose 2nd place off of the restart. However, Hicksonbaugh has not been able to do it from the 2nd place spot yet. For the first time today, Wayne Grassi is restarting within the top 5. It's going to be very interesting to see what that 7 car is going to do now that we have a couple of those top 5 contenders out of contention, such as Petruccio and Pataska.
Yeah, definitely keep a watch on that 7 car, since you guys have been saying he's definitely one to watch, as now he's up here. As it looks like Eddie Kerner gets a good jump on the restart here, and looks like Wayne Grassy is going to be side by side with Hicksonbaugh as he goes into turn 1.
Yeah, talk about Eddie Kerner. He's been really jumping those starts and throwing these guys off guard, and that's exactly what's been happening. They have yet to figure him out. As now Grassi is going to promote himself up to the second spot. Kevin Stone with a really good restart. He finds himself back in the fourth spot as Hicksenball is now under attack by multiple cars trying to hold on that second spot again, riding on rails on the outside. So look back there, there's Eric Wineland. He finds himself up to the eighth spot, so he is on a man on a mission. He's up to seventh now. He restarted around a 14th position. He finds himself up to the seventh spot. Now looking to the outside of that 22 of Morrison for the sixth spot. He might get him as Caldwell gets a little loose again. He's going to fall back, slide right in the middle, and that's going to promote him up to the sixth spot. Now looking for the fifth spot as Grassi now back in fourth. Steele move him up to third. He's making a move as Hicksenbach runs in second and Kerner back out of the race lead, but not if Hicksenbach anything to say about it. He is all over the back bumper of that tie-dye number 98 Ford as they race back off into turn number one as they are approaching around 13 to 12 to go.
Incredible save by that 12. He was being split 3 wide when he got a bit of oversteer, rather. Middle of turn 2. So he's going to hang on to the 7th position for now, staying in contention, and he's going to get a couple of stage points if he can hang on to that 7th position right now. We look up front, and that 63 staying right behind that number 88 here as we head off to turn 4. A little bit unlike Kerner early in the race, but he's appears to be going to the top side, trying it out here as we enter the back end of stage 1, lap 67. We're entering 13 to go when we complete lap 67.
Yeah, as we were talking about the 63 car here, as we saw the last lap, he actually ran the fastest lap of the race so far. So we have a yellow out. Looks like the 12 car is around in turn 1.
Bit of a commentator's curse, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, looks like he just hit the grass here and just kind of looped it, almost kept it from completely going around as he get it stopped to the bottom of turn 1 there. Very unfortunate, but luckily he didn't get any damage or collect anybody on that car, so he can just bring it back down to pit road and get some fresh tires in the thing and try and get it back out there.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it on the replay yet or not. Hopefully we get that pulled up as they were coming off of turn number 4. He was basically fighting demons the entire way down that front straightaway. He just came off of turn number 4, real tail happy. I was surprised he saved it then. He comes down the front straightaway, left, right. He is trying to save that car as much as he can. Got in the grass, came back up, got a throttle a little bit too early, ends up doing a little bit of lawn care for himself. So nowhere to forward to build it at 12 car as he just amazingly keeps it off the wall, keeps it out of the rest of the field, as now he, I believe, is leaving it back around the pit lane, but still just an amazing amount of car control. You see a little bit of pit strategy playing out as Hicksenbach is going to stay out and resume the race lead as he's going to let Eddie Kerner take down pit road, as now Grassi is going to line up second and Eric Wineland is going to take over third. So the same top 3 we saw at Charlotte is now going to line up 1, 2, 3 with less than 10 to go here for the end of stage 1.
Kerner nearly by him is lonesome as he enters down pit road. Not many of the contenders up front really came down with him there. Hicksenbach's going to, I believe for the first time today, restart in that first place position off of a restart. Grassi is going to be on the second place position, so he'll get some experience in the probably the worst position that you want to restart if we're talking top 3 rows, at least for Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, I don't know if coming into pit road was the best strategy there, but this is also his first start in, so I don't really think Eddie Kerner's worried about trying to get those stage points. I think he's worried about just trying to figure the track out as we go and trying to get that race win. As for the 63, he's trying to get out and get as many points as he can.
You also got to wonder if it's a little bit of pit strategy on the 98's part. Think about it now. He's on a little bit of a long run strategy. He can go up there and maybe he knows he's faster than a lot of these cars. He knows he's the fastest car on the racetrack. So he can go get those stage points. But the rest of the field who didn't pit are on that short strategy. So what we're going to see under caution is maybe a lot of them go down pit road, and then Eddie Kerner is just going to resume the race lead, and the rest of the field is going to have to try and play catch up to keep up with them. So it's a little bit of I would say, kind of just a slight bit of mind games and pitch strategy trying to play out early on in this race, but still, he finds himself, I believe, outside the top 10. He is going to come out around the 11th spot, so yeah, he's definitely going to get stage points. He might even put up a fight for the stage win come the end of it, but as we believe are around 2 to go under caution, your top 5 is a lot of what we saw last week at Charlotte, which is Hicksenball with the race lead, Grossi running second, Wineland in third, the 22 Morrison runs out fourth, fifth is going to be Ryan Samuelson, Brian Maybury is the number three, is going to line up sixth. Seventh is Christopher Herman, who made a really good comeback after we talked about that wreck he was involved in. Brandon Gullett in the 55 is at eighth. Matthew Woods in the 48s, hold on a ninth. He's been a little bit of a sleeper since the start of the race. And then Dakota Knoll is going to be the person that has to try and fend off Eddie Kerner for that last stage point, as we're about to go green with around 10 to 9 to go.
Definitely going to have to agree with you, Noah, in terms of Kerner going for a long-term call. He knows that he probably has the best long-run car in the field. Of course, our longest run hasn't been more than about 15 laps so far today, but it seems like the 98 does have a bit of an advantage over the rest of the field. Even in the short term, he's not necessarily taking that big of a loss. He's right outside of the zone of stage points. All he needs is one spot, and he's already up into the top 10. And again, with someone like his speed, he might not be going for the points game. He might just be going for a win to try to lock himself into the playoffs here in the Galaxy Cup Series, which isn't a bad strategy for someone who has his raw speed.
No, not at all, especially considering the fact that, he may be trying to do this just for extra practice for Kansas, or just trying to get extra practice just in the car in general. So, I mean, especially for somebody of his caliber, to get extra experience and try to get a win under his belt in a semi-competitive field is always something good to do.
Absolutely, as now they make their way into turn number 3. As the field now bunches up, this I believe is the first restart we haven't seen that 98 car in the lead. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they shake up with this restart. Are we going to see Hicksenbaugh is a guy that really tries to make it a little weird. There's a lot of restarts where he'll go early and just get on the gas. A lot of them will throw him off and go late. So we're going to have to see how that plays out, as now they're really stacking up. It's going to be a really good restart as the pace truck pulls off. As the field back into 63, he's going to go early. Here comes Wineland. He's going to make a run for himself up into the second spot, as now what we're used to seeing here in the Galaxy Cup Series, the 31 and the 63 get off to an early jump on the start. Grossi going to hold on to the third place, as now here comes Samuelson trying to pass Morrison for the fourth spot as they make their way off of turn number 2. Will Wineland trying to make the move to the inside? We're going to see how that plays out. He's going to stay in line, I believe, as Grossi holds on to the third spot. He's going to make a run on the inside. He's going to go to the side-by-side with that number 31, maybe off of turn number 4. Yes, he is. He's there, side-by-side. Is there a three-way back there? That's going to involve the 98 of Kerner. They hold on to it, as now we're coming close to 5 to go at the end of the stage. Now Kerner being held up by a lot of lap traffic, but right now Hicksenbaugh is starting to pull away with a little bit of the lead.
We're only looking at about 7 laps of action, but Eddie Kerner already making his way almost to the top 5. He exits turn 2 in the 6th position, looking right now at number 3 of Brian Maybury. He could even win the stage here. Definitely the story to look for is the fact that the series best right now, and Bryson Hicksenbaugh and Eric Wineland, if the playoffs were to start today, they'd be at the top of the point standings. 45 playoff points for Hicksenbaugh currently, 9 for Wineland, and they're doing their job right now. Look out for Kerner. He's within about a second of the leader.
Yeah, speaking of Kerner, he actually just made the pass in the 3 there, as we are coming into, I think we are exiting turn 4 here. My sim actually froze. Yeah, as we're actually crossing the line here for lap 75, Hicksenbaugh still on point here as we are going into turn 1.
And they talk about Kerner, all pistons go on the 98. He is holding nothing back, as now he's being held up by Morrison and Grossi, who are fighting on for the 4th spot. He says, excuse me, out of my way. He is not waiting a second. He knows he's running out of time. He played the strategy perfectly, and now he's the guy with the freshest tires out of all these leaders, as he's getting squeezed up to the wall by the 22, as now here he comes with a push to Morrison, as they're going to clear the 7. He's going to try and make a move on the outside. Morrison with the block going to turn number 1. He's going to thread the needle to the inside, clear him for 3rd with the crossover move, as now he goes to the inside. Look at this. He has an amazing run coming up at turn number 2. Side by side with Wineland, pulling all horses that he can out of that Ford Mustang as he clears them into turn number 3. All eyes set on that 63, who he has been fighting all day, not really putting up much of a fight, as he has been clearing him the entire way around. As with 4 laps to go, Kerner is now all sights set on the stage win as he started 11th and in the span of under 10 laps is now fighting for the stage win here for stage number 1.
11th to 2nd, and he's not done yet. Looking down the back straightaway, I think he's going to go for that inside line on the entry to 3. Looks inside, side by side with the 63 to Hixenbaugh. Yellow comes out. I think timing and scoring is going to put the 63 to Hixenbaugh ahead of Kerner. I believe the stage is going to end under yellow. So give that stage win to Bryson Hixenbaugh tentatively. As we look to see the cause of the yellow. Again, Cam Conwell.
Yeah, he's been fighting demons with that number 12 all night. He's obviously that setup is not working well for him as the back end has just not been working with him. As looking at the replay going to turn number 1, all by his lonesome, all on his own, slid up a little bit going into the corner, tried to back off, and actually, almost took up Petrucco, barely avoided him, so props him on that. He's been having some amazing saves to avoid hitting anybody, but sadly he cannot hold on to that car, slams into the outside wall. It is now just a spinning pinwheel down the back straightaway as the man out of California again finds himself sitting backwards on the racetrack. As I believe you're correct, we will be ending the stage 1 under yellow unless timing and scoring decides differently. As here we go. Now pit stops are coming. Morrison is the man going to stay out. So if we stay under caution, Morrison's going to get the stage win, and Hixenbaugh is going to finish second maybe. We're going to see how they line up on a pit road. But a lot of pit strategy being played out to try and get those precious playoff points here today.
So that would be the white flag for stage 1, and Jeremy Morrison is currently the leader. It'll be interesting to see if he actually decides to stay out here for one additional lap and claim that stage win, because otherwise he's on tires that are nearly 20 laps old as opposed to the guys that just pitted, such as Hixenbaugh, Kerner, Weinland, Grassi, and Amos. Okay. The stage technically will be at the completion of lap 80, so it depends on whether or not Morrison decides to stay out here at the end of lap 80. So we do have an additional lap before we decide who the stage winner is.
Yes, as we my bad. As we head to the end of stage number 1 here, now it's Morrison and Mabry who are trying to play a little bit of a mind game to try and get that precious stage win here at Kansas, as they know that might be the best they can do right now. Try and capitalize on whatever they can get, as we're going to have to see where they go, as they're going to get the white flag this time for the stage number 1. But as for the leaders, I believe, Kerner gets the jump on Hixenbaugh exiting the pits, so they're going to resume the race later. Oh, here they come down pit road. So a strategy change again, as now it's a question of who's going to take over the race lead. I believe it's going to be Kerner taking a race lead. We have the 57 of Cameron Stone is 9 laps down. So yeah, Kerner is going to be the big gainer. So in the end of all of this, his stage is a little bit pit strategy is going to play out to perfection, as he he will end up getting the stage win here for stage number 1.
Interestingly, it's not a loss for Morrison by any means, because he crosses the start-finish line at the completion of lap 80 in position number 3. Doesn't pick up a stage win, doesn't get that playoff point, but he did better than I believe he would have had we gone to the end of the stage.
Absolutely, is now the exit off of turn number 2. Right now, the 98 car is still your leader. Hixenbaugh going to finish in second. Eric Weinland is going to finish off in third. Wayne Grassi is going to hold on to a 4th spot. And then how about this? Kevin Steele and number 44, he's going to finish it in 5th with an incredible rebound on his part. The 48 of Matthew Woods is going to finish it off, and I believe that is the 6th spot, because of the pit sequence that we just had. It kind of threw everything out of sorts a little bit because the car is going on pit road, so we have to see where that winds up. Right now, I believe Matthew Woods is going to run out 6th, and then it is Brandon Goulet, Petrucco, and I believe that is Randy Drummiller, who's going to round it out in 9th. We see where they come across the start-finish line, as now we actually see who finished where. Yes, Randy. So here's your top 10. I'll just run it back down to you here. Eddie Kerner is going to get the stage win. Bryson Hixenbaugh in 2nd. Eric Weinland in 3rd. Wayne Grassi is going to get it in 4th. Kevin Steele is 5th. Matthew Woods 6th. Brandon Goulet 7th. Richard Petrucco 8th. Randy Drumhiller in 9th. And then Cody Bird is going to get that final stage point here for stage number 1, as we are now 1 to green for the beginning of stage 2.
My apologies there. As a result, Morrison's not going to handle that third spot because stage ends at the completion of lap 80 and not at the start. We're getting ready for a restart here, though, already. Kerner is going to, like he's been for most of the day, be restarting in the first position with his most consistent competitor of Hixenbaugh. 7 wins on the season already. About 3 of them were at mile and a half tracks like Kansas. Let's see what he can do off this restart. 80 laps will go to the completion of lap 160, and then we'll have 107 laps to conclude the race here today at Kansas Speedway.
As we get down to the front straightaway, Eddie Kerner takes the green flag. As we head down the front stretch into turn 1, we have 185 laps to go as we start stage 2.
And Eric Kerner, as we've seen all race long with that amazing start of his, pulling out to about a 3-car length gap. Eric Wineland on the inside, he's going to hold on to second. Hixenbaugh waiting to make that, get his tires a little warmed up and suited to that outside line. But at the moment, he's in a fight with Wayne Grassi for the 3rd spot on the racetrack. But here he comes. Now he's got those rails set. As here comes Wineland with the block on the outside of the corner. He's going to dive down to the apron. So now a little bit of a switcheroo on who gets the lane. Hixenbaugh says, "You think that block's going to work? I don't think so." Now he clears him, pulling it back to the high side. Now all eyes are set on that tie-dye number 98 as they exit off of turn number 2. As the 31 and the 7, who again to talk about with a little bit of an incident at Charlotte. Now they're finding themselves fighting over the 3rd spot of this race as they head off into turn number 3. Kevin Steele still holding on to the 5th spot, but not at the 48 car. Saying anything about it as they are really putting up the pressure for that 5th position right now.
You know, we haven't talked much about Kevin Steele today, but he's definitely doing his job, even if he's not getting much notoriety so far in that 44 Exalta machine, defending a couple of really competitive cars like Rich Petrucco, Matthew Wood right behind him in that 48 machine. A couple other guys that we haven't talked about so far rounding out the top 10, Brandon Gollett, Christopher Hammond. We're looking at that battle for the lead as Hixenbaugh on the outside of Kerner looking for the lead yet again.
Yeah, as we go down across the stripe here, looks like Bryson Hixenbaugh is actually going to take the lap there as we go into turn 1 as they're side by side for the race lead here.
We complete lap 86, and Hixenbaugh is going to be credited with the lead. Kerner not giving up yet. He does duck behind, could be looking to the inside, a little hard to tell. He does take the inside line, but I don't think he's going to have the run as we exit off of turn 4. Put Hixenbaugh to the point early in stage 2 here at Kansas Speedway.
Hixenbaugh back with the race lead again. He's starting to pull away. Eric Wineland still in a really hard battle with the 7-car over the 3rd spot. They're starting to single file out. 3-car fight back there for the 6th spot as now Kevin Steele starting to pull away on the 5th for the 5th position. So right now it is still Hixenbaugh and Kerner fighting over the top spot as the 31 and the 7 cannot get away from each other. Those two are still side by side entering turn number 3 as they're starting to close the gap a little bit over the front 2 pack. But here comes Kevin Steele in the 44. He's starting to close the gap a little bit on his own as those two just keep fighting and slowing each other down. But they are really putting on a show back there for the 3rd spot as now Hixenbaugh tries to create another gap to try and outrun the 98 as best as he can, but the 98 still reeling him in little by little. So unlike we saw at Charlotte where Hixenbaugh in the early race could run away, he just has that green nose all over his mirror as he cannot get away with him no matter what he throws at him.
Yeah, Weiland is really, really pressing that number 7 here. And these guys are doing a heck of a job here maintaining their pace up front. We did talk about them much in the first stage. They didn't start in the top 10. But through attrition and a really solid pace as we head into a run, these guys are really hanging on to the top 5 spot, doing a heck of a job. 31 of Wineland looking to clear off of the exit at 2, not quite. We enter into 3, still side by side, 31 maintaining, 7 not really running on the wall despite being on the outside line. Exit of turn 4, Eric Wineland not going to clear as we head to complete lap 88.
Yeah, as they're still side by side there. As we go back to the stage win there, we actually made a mistake. So actually, the stage win is actually awarded to Bryson Hixenbaugh, according to the rulebook.
All right, well, that little bit of a rule mix-up there. I apologize about that, but right now, all that matters is who's in the lead right now. Hixenbaugh still pointing out with that race lead as he's still not able to pull away from Kerner, but he is able to keep a pretty healthy lead. Not too much of a fight being put by the 98, as I believe he's just trying to settle into this run. Grossi finally cleared the 31 of Wineland, so now he's starting to put the gap to them, as we gotta wonder if Wineland maybe ate up his stuff trying to battle off the number 7, as now he's falling back to the clutches of the 44. He's actually holding him up a little bit, creating a little bit of a gap between now second place to fourth place. Now we have a oh, that was my bad. That was the lap car of Hodgkinson, who was involved in that early race incident. That's going to put a little bit of a stack up, but that helped 98 a little bit. Going to help the 63 car, as now a lot of the field trying to clear him. As Wineland really closed up on the back bumper of that number 79 as they clear off into turn number 1. He's going to hold on to it. He's actually going to get put in the middle of the fight between the 48 and the 44. That's going to give it to the 48 of Matthew Woods. He's going to clear still because of that. Pertrugo's going to pass him, so Kevin Steele not going to be too happy with the 79, and now he's lost 2 spots on the straightaway because of that.
Unfortunate for that number 44, but we have a long stage here at Kansas. We're only not even 10% of the way into the stage here. And for the first time today, we may be looking at green flag pit stops. We're down to 18 cars on the lead lap as we watch Kevin Steele, which is, with this high level of attrition, means the pack is able to spread out a lot easier. So it's going to be interesting to see if we get a green flag pit stop and see how these cars handle over our first true long run.
Yeah, we've been waiting to see if we can get a green flag run. This will definitely play in a factor of strategy, which is something these drivers were probably looking forward to, but hadn't been able to get a hold of doing yet. So definitely be on the lookout of these front runners and the cars just rounding out the top 10, because you never know what they have at their option.
And as we point out back, there's a little bit of a battle going on there with the 36, I believe, of Dakota Knoll, as he's trying to fend off the number 30 of Randy Drumhiller, as they're fighting a little bit of a creative gap going into turn number 3. But right now, Dakota Knoll with about, I believe, a 3-car length gap, but he is closing in on that number 3 of Mabry as he gets around the lap car to 79. Still a little bit of a battle that was going on might have just died down a little bit, but the 36 car really closing in the gap in front of him. Mabry is in a fight with Goalie. He's going to try and clear him. Go really slow coming off of turn number 2. The 3 car is just going to fly by him, and now the 55 car has to worry about that 36 car as he's really closing him in. The 55 car off pace, so Goalie having a little bit of issues trying to keep the pace up. The 3 car all the way up against the wall coming out of turn number 4, as here he goes through the front straightaway side by side with is the 36 and the 55. He's going to clear him, move him up to the 10th to the 11th spot, as now the last fight for the fight for the last position on stage point is really starting to heat up here. But out front, it is still Hicksonbaugh and Kerner, as here comes another lap car, Delaney, who had been really off pace. The entire nose on that car is missing. That's really going to hold him up as they fly down the front straightaway, as now Grossi is going to try and get around him as he's trying to get the run down to go after the leaders as they head off into turn number 1 here as we approach lap 100.
Yeah, Gullet started inside of that top 10 as we watched him enter into turn 1. Unfortunate to see, but he's starting to drop a little bit down the leaderboard. The likes of Dakota Knoll and Brian Maybury were really pulling away from him. His last lap time was almost 7/10 off of that of Knowles and about a full second off of Maybury. So despite the fact that we're not seeing damage, it looks like that car may not be set up for the long run here. As even Ryan Samuelson will get past for that P12 spot.
Yeah, setting up for the long run or the short run here, it really just depends on who, as me, I haven't been around for a lot of these races, so I'm not really sure how everything's been going, but you can definitely see if somebody's been set up for a long run or a short run, and if they're going to make any adjustments for these cars. But now, as we expect, as we've got some of the wrecking out of the way, I think we're going to see more long runs coming in now as we're actually getting later into this race.
Yeah, and an update on what we've seen so far with the problems of the wrecks. A lot of cars have fallen out early on in the run. Right now, Nolan Hodgson currently still on track. I believe he is the last car along with... Yeah, he's right now the last car running on track, as Jonathan Delaney, I believe, is out of the race. He just sees himself sitting on pit road. So I think his race is over. He's just going to watch it from the sideline. But right now, Cam Caldwell finds himself out of the race. As right now we have a change for the lead. The 98 car, move him back up into P1 as they sail off onto turn number 1 as he gets the pass done. So we'll be seeing that we thought maybe they were trying to set up for a long run. No, he was just biding his time, waiting for the right moment. He found it and he capitalized on it. So the man who's trying to get his pro license is starting to take back the race lead, as now we get to see what that car can do as they come off of turn number 4, as now we're about to have a car length and a half is the distance between first and second, as those two have just sailed away from the third place of Wayne Grassi, as now Eric Wineland is in a really hard fight. Again, cannot get out of fighting drivers, as now he's going to fall back to fifth place as Matthew Woods capitalizes and take over fourth spot.
I believe there's some new damage on the right front side of Wineland, but it could have been from one of his earlier incidents. As you said, Noah, he does drop back to the P5 spot. Not looking too good for that number 31 right now. He's about 2/10 off of that fourth place car, Matthew Wood, on the last lap, and the 48 of Steely just passed him for the fourth position. So the lead change occurred on lap 98 between Kerner and Hixenbaugh. Kerner made the pass as he went on to the inside of turns 3 and 4, coming to lap 99, excuse me. And the king of the bottom line here so far today is pulling at a consistent rate of about 2/10 on Hixenbaugh right now.
Yeah, as we come into turn 4 here, he's actually got his lead up to almost 0.8 of a second. Actually, now, as he crosses the line, he is at 0.8 of a second. So just as you saw within the few laps that he actually cleared him, expect to see about a second lead when he crosses the line here in about a lap or two.
Yeah, and right now, as you look on the screen right now, Eric Wineland, he is starting to run the high side. We saw him trying to make a low side work, but maybe he's killed his tires off us now. He is really falling off the pace. He got in a fight with the Grassi for the third spot, and ever since then, he has not been able to recover. As here comes Steele to the inside. He's going to try and make the run off of turn number 4 as Wineland all the way up against the wall. On board now is Richard Petrugo. He has a front row seat to this. Steele still unable to clear him as they come off into turn number 1. Gonna have to maybe lift off a little later to try and get the run on Steele. Yes, he does. You see, here he goes, reeling him in little by little, but Steele has such a good run on the exit of the corner, it's not gonna matter. Weiland hanging on for dear life. The number one thing he can hope for right now is a caution, barring unless it's him involved. And right now, he is just hanging on for dear life, trying to fend off that 44 of Kevin Steele, but to no avail. He is all over the back bumper as that Exalta red, white, and blue Chevy is putting the pressure on the 31, as Wineland has not been able to have a moment to breathe since the beginning of stage number 2.
Yeah, Wineland, despite the fact that he's in 5th position, it really seemed like he's been struggling quite a bit in this stage. Just doesn't have the pace of the guys in the 3rd, 4th position. And he's currently being hassled quite a bit by Steely. Steely, despite his earlier issue in the stage, looking for that top 5 position, low line in 3. Interesting to see that both the high line and low line can be made to work pretty efficiently here. Of course, this series, the Galaxy Cup Series, is open setup, giving drivers the opportunity to tune their cars to handle better on the high or low line.
And speaking of cars coming into handling into play, looks like Eddie Kerner's actually pulled his lead up to about 1.5 seconds now, just within the extra few laps. Went up about almost a second lead here, or a second on his lead, as we actually take one lap. Lap 106, as he's now got it up to a 1.7 second lead.
And as we approach the middle point of this race, we're seeing a lot more now. You talk about the crashes, take out a lot of the drivers that maybe were the problem. Sadly, not anything against them, just how things roll, as now the field really finds himself spread out. Kerner, as we talked about in stage 1, he really struggled getting around the dirty air of these drivers, his setup. As you can see right now, once you get that clean air, there is no stopping that 98 car, as right now he is pulling away and then some, out to about a 1.8 second lead over Hixenbaugh. Right now, he's on a little bit of a Sunday drive himself, just biding his time because Grassi is... Yeah, he's about to say a second himself off, about 2 seconds, as now on board with the rear bumper, as you can't even see Hixenbaugh anymore. That's how far away that gap is. And you see just a little red speck on the top of turn number 3, as they're the onboard with that KC General Store number 63. Here he comes. He's going to dive all the way down to the apron, all the way to the grass. Be mindful not to kill that splitter as he comes back up the racetrack, all the way up to the wall, set up for that high side as he is trying the best as he can. As, a little bit of a Oh, my bad, I'm looking at Grossi on my screen, but Wineland's still, no, Hixenbaugh, trying to get names correctly, as Hixenbaugh is doing the best. Oh, no, we have a caution. As I'm trying to figure out who caused that, it looks to be Steven Sims in the 46 car. Slow off of turn number 2. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. We're going to try and get the replay up as see trying the best they can with the best that we got. As the 46 car coming out of the corner. Oh, a little bit of a connection issue it might have seemed like. As I'm trying the best I can to find them. Oh, there's actually a big stack up. I'm not even sure what happened there. A lot of cars getting loose, as I think there might have been a wreck coming down the front straightaway, maybe?
On my screen, I saw something between the number 17 of Christopher Hammond and the slow car of Daniel Fields, who was only going about 140 miles an hour in the trial hole. Not sure if there was intentional contact between the two on my end, but it looked like the number 17 went right in on the number 66. Oh, and there we have it on screen right now. Looked like perhaps an intentional incident. I'm not sure.
What I saw on my end looked like coming off of turn number 4 to 6 car. I believe, I'm not even sure who that is. Someone lost control and ended up going all the way down the front straightaway and was just trying to hold on to. You see it on your screen right now. Haman seemingly had nowhere to go, as that just hurts him as the driver out of New York, now limping it around the racetrack trying to get it back to pit road, as now he finds himself a lap down. So we talk about the really good rebound he had trying to not kill that car after having such bad luck in the beginning, as now he's going to retire. He's going to pull it to the garage. See on your on screen, the 66 car coming out of turn number 4, a little bit of connection issues, but the story tells it for himself. Oh! Yeah, I'm not even sure what that was. I thought the 17 had nowhere to go, but he just came right up into him.
He was, of course, about 50 miles an hour off the pace on the entry to turn 1 there. So the 17 might not have been expecting for him to be there. Thought he might have been clear. A little hard to tell.
Yeah, it actually looks like as we get the race off of pit road there, it looks like we actually had a couple positions changed. Because it looks like the 48 of Matthew Woods came out of pit road in the 3rd spot. So kind of nice to see him back up in the front of the field from the beginning of the race here.
An onboard look at the number 17 for me shows that he got loose as he was driving in between the apron and the trial bank. And that's why he got into it.
Yeah, it does look like after pit cycles here that Matthew Woods did cycle out pit stops in the 3rd spot. And it looks like that William Grassi ended up 4th and Eric Wineland actually ended up 5th.
Yes, as right now they come off of turn number 2, the 98 car running on the apron, maybe trying to save fuel a little bit or just bite his tires, as right now we're still under caution with around maybe 2 to go as we get ready to go back racing here. Right now your top 5 is Hixenbaugh and the 60, no my bad, Kerner in the number 98. He's your race leader. Hixenbaugh is running 2nd. Matthew Woods is going to be running up in 3rd. Wayne Grossi is in 4th, and then Eric Wineland, like I talked about, that caution really saved his butt. He was holding on for dear life with those tires. Now he's in 5th. As we're going to try and maybe get an interview with our stage winner from stage number 1, as I try to find his name around here. As here we go. Bryson Hixenbaugh, Noah Carmichael in the booth. Do you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, it seems like unlike last week, you have a really big fight from the newcomer of Eddie Kerner. How are you trying to tackle that number 98 car today?
It's going to be tough. He's got a really fast, long-run car. I'm a little bit better up top for the first few laps, but now that we have that long run there, he just took off. We're going to have to see what I can do, pit stop adjustments to make it better, but I'm not sure there's much I can do to keep up with him.
We've been seeing on the restart a little bit that he's been going a lot earlier than a lot of other drivers. Is that throwing you guys off a little bit? Because right now on these restarts, he just takes off like a rocket.
I'm not sure it's how early he's going. We're trying to figure out exactly how he's jumping so good, but he's definitely very good at these restarts.
All right. Well, congratulations on the stage 1 win. Hopefully, we see more out of it later in the run. Have a great race out there today.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so that is your stage 1 winner as we try to rush him back up to his team room as we get ready to go back racing here. As we've seen most of the race, the 63 car and the 98 car, 1-2 is now a newcomer. The 48 car back up in the third. The pace truck going to roll off of pit road. Will they figure out the restart? No, they're not. Kerner with the jump. I see green flag is back in the air. We're going to go to green on lap 113 as they sail off into turn number 1.
We enter turn 1. The battle is for second place onto the entry 01. Again, the outside really struggles off the restart because Kerner just has such control off of the restart. And that is the big advantage of being the leader, is that you do dictate when you get back on the throttle. Woods to the second position. Back straight away, we enter turn 3. The battle's for third between Bryson Hicksenbaugh and Wayne Grassy. Grassy on the inside.
Yeah, Eric Wineland actually making a run from the 5th spot there. It's nice to see that white and blue UK machine making a run up front as he's actually getting a battle for the 2nd spot as Bryson Hicksenbaugh runs to the top side trying to take that spot away.
And right on behind him is the 7 car of, Eric Wineland getting loose. Almost got turned by the number 22 as he washed up in front of him. I was talking about a really good fight going on there, 3 wide back there for the 4th spot. As right now, Grassi going to look to the inside of Matthew Woods, as he's going to try to take over the 3rd spot. But right now, the fight that we've been seeing all day, again, it's that 98 car of Eric Kerner. And as we saw in your interview, the biggest concern right now, don't let him pull away, because if you do, you're going to have a hard time trying to catch him, and that's exactly what he's going to try and do. And they're going to go side by side in the back straightaway. He's going to try and clear him going into turn number 3 is now the goal. Keep him in that dirty air and try to kill those tires, make him work for it, so that way he can't do anything to try and get the run back going again.
Hicksenbaugh has been the king of the top side. He uses it to his advantage again, up about 1.5 tenths. 2 tenths over Kerner at the completion of lap 115. And now Kerner is under attack from behind. 3rd place car Wayne Grassy is now looking to take advantage of a good run.
It looks like the 22 of Jeremy Morrison, haven't really heard much of him as of late in this race. He is now up into the 5th spot as we have a caution.
A lot of cautions being played out here in the races. Now we're going to have to try and figure out where that one came from. I believe it might be, trying to figure out who that is coming across the racetrack. It looks to be the 42 car of Josh Coppernell. As here you see the replay coming through turns number 1 and 2. Yeah, we've seen a lot of cars get really loose. He barely kept off the 19 to Samuelson, bouncing off the wall. A lot of cars just trying to avoid him. So pretty good car control on his end to keep it out of the field. But man, he is all over the cars. He just slams it in the nose first to the wall. Just said I've had enough of it and just let it go as he slams into the outside wall of turn number 2. As now we're back under caution again, as now we get to see more pit strategy play out.
Unfortunately for Coppernell there, yeah, he may have some suspension damage. It's hard to tell. Right front hit pretty hard. Leaders are getting the opportunity to come down pit road here. It looks like most of them will. The guy highest up the leaderboard that is staying out, I'm trying to determine here, looks like Tommy Amos? No, there is one car ahead of him. Ryan Samuelson is probably going to be your leader in the number 16 car as the leaders come down to their pit stops.
And we saw the 63 car. He got a really good entry into pit road, as now we get to see the race off of pit road. The 98 car actually a little bit more forward than he would like to be. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. As here goes the Jack's drop, race off of pit road, and the 63 car is going to take it. Kerner is going to have a really slow pit stop, it seems like, as the 7 car almost got to him. He's going to roll off third as the field spreads out, as I believe we're going to have another commercial break coming up here, as we'll bring it back to you with a couple laps to go before we go racing again. Welcome back, race fans, to PitStop TV as we get set to go racing here. A little bit of a mix-up going on. Eddie Kerner, the man who has been on a mission dominating the whole race, he has an EOL penalty as he's having connection issues. So big problem for the race leader as drama unfolds under caution. Ryan Samuelson retakes the lead, it looks like, or the Hickson-Ball on the outside. The pace truck pulls off. So now the lead is in the hands of the 19 car for the first time tonight. As here he goes, he's on the gas as we're back racing. We're going to see if Hickson-Bottom can get it. Yes, he is. But the 19 car unable to hold on to it as now Hickson-Ball takes over the race lead. Matthew Woods is going to round it up at second as the 19 car just gives up and like, I'm just going to hold on. I got what I wanted out of that. I led a lap and I'm just going to give it back to them as now Matthew Woods in that 48 University of Kentucky runs up in second, trying to reel in that number 63 car, trying to put his name up to bid for the race lead as now he looks to the inside. Side by side to go into turn number 3. Eric Wineland running in third. Wayne Grossi in fourth. James Morrison in fifth. Off of turn number 4 they go. Grossi got real loose. 22 dives down to the apron trying to avoid him as Hickson-Ball is going to lead the first lap.
For the first time today, Eddie Kerner not in direct contention for the win here today. Of course, he has a lot of time to get back up there, but he's not up front for the lead right now, leaving Hickson-Ball to fend off guys like Heinlein and Woods right now, as well as Wayne Grassi. Wayne Grassi currently in 4th position, fending off the likes of Jeremy Morrison and the 27 Rich Petrucco. As we...
Go ahead.
Morrison currently going to hold up Petrucco right now. They're single files. Right now we have a battle for second position. No, it's for the lead. Wineland looking on the 63.
Yeah, he's looking on the lead here, but it looks like he's not going to get the run he thought he had. As it looks like Wayne Grassie's actually making a run on the 3rd spot here. As the 22 of Jeremy Morrison's also making a run there. So the top 5 getting pretty close there.
Yeah, Hickson-Ball, now what we saw with Kerner now starting to pull out a lead as the top 2 that you usually expect out of this series is now taking a shape as that 63 and 31 are running 1-2. About a 2.5 car length gap is the distance between first and second. The 48 of Matthew Woods running back in 3rd, close to the bumper of that pink and purple number 31 with a neon 31 on the sides as Wayne Grossi now looking to the on the bottom of the racetrack, now having to look in the mirror to see that 22 of Morrison, who had a really good run late in the race at Charlotte, ended up with a blown motor that ended his night. Now he's looking himself to get a little bit of redemption this week as he's a man on a mission up in the 5th. We talked about Eddie Kerner and having the connection issues. He finds himself running in the back of the pack, waiting for the right time to try and get it. He is still disconnected. He's picking off cars one by one, it seems like. Now he's looking to the inside of Ryan Samuelson. You're on board right now with Morrison, who has a front row view with the pack in front of him, as now they're going around 2 by 2 with Matthew Woods falling back in the running order as now he's on the high side. Grassi going to look to take over the 3rd spot as now Wineland up to 2nd. Morrison trying to do whatever he can to find a hold and make it through as they're almost 3 wide for the 2nd spot. Grassi going to punch it in the hole. They're 3 wide going through turns 3 and 4 as now Woods is going to peek ahead and hold on to that 2nd spot. But right now, Hickson-Ball is now saying to himself, keep it going, because now he's going to try and reel himself out to a huge lead. Is now looking on nose just how close that splitter is to the racing surface as he goes through turn number 1 and 2. As now he holds on to 4th. Now the field's starting to spread out a little bit as we now are on lap 1 at 27 as we approach the end of stage number 2.
We just saw 3 wide work for one of the first times today. Haven't seen him happen much here, and Kansas really isn't designed for it. Big winner there, definitely Matthew Woods. He has definitely been running for a podium spot. We really haven't seen him too much up into the 2nd place. We've more so seen him running in the top 5. He's starting to make headway on the 63 at Hickson-Ball. Definitely take advantage of the high downforce package here that we have at Kansas Speedway. The closest battle between cars right now is for the 4th place position. Wayne Grassi. He's been hanging on to that top 5 for most of the race since the early stages, and he's pulling a little bit from Morrison. Morrison also wasn't much in the picture in the first stage, but now he's becoming pretty established here in the top 5 for the Galaxy Cup Series race at Kansas.
Yeah, the battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th here is actually getting pretty tight as they're actually making a run on Matthew Woods here for 2nd. But mainly the battle for 3rd and 4th is actually picking up here. As we've been saying, Wayne Grassi is just starting to Actually, it looks like he's starting to get the feel of the track, or maybe his car's starting to come alive now, as it's getting, towards the latter part of the race here, as we still have 130 laps to go. So there's still plenty of racing left to do, but, we're coming up towards the latter half of the stage, so all the track position they can get matters for as many points as they can get.
Yes, as they approach 30 to go here, stage number 2, as now the 79 car Hodges in again playing a factor with these leaders. That's forcing Hixenbottom to go to the bottom, which is not what he's been doing all race long. The 48 car is going to get pulled up and behind him, exiting turn number 4. A terrible spot to catch him, as now that's going to really pull out a length to second and third, as the rest of the field trying just to find a way around him as they head off into turn number 1. Grassy going to try and take advantage of that incident. He looks to the inside going to turn number 1, but Wineland going to clear him coming off of turn number 2, is now they are almost, I say, a half car length between each other. But now Matthew Woods holding on to a pretty safe distance between the leaders and the third place, is now Hixenbaugh again pulling out a race lead, as what we've seen used to him in this series.
3/4 of a second the advantage for Hixenbaugh. So after a bit of a charge from the 48, he's going to fall off a little bit here as we get into the middle stages of this run here. Have about 28 laps to go on the stage. Pitting should not be a factor here. So Wineland is also going to pull a little bit of an advantage on the 7 of Grassy. Bit of an update on that number 98 of Eddie Kerner right now. He's about keeping pace with our leaders right now, although he's not in a position for stage points. Currently first car outside of stage points at P11. We're going to take a look at Eddie Kerner right now as we follow him through the exit of 4. So it looks like without a caution, which we've had a decent amount of cautions so far today, but it looks like he may not really be in contention for a stage win here in the second stage here, Kansas.
Yeah, it looks like he looks like he was about to make the run. Actually, I think he did just pass for P10. As my
that does move him to P10
a little bit in and out there. Yeah, he did move into P10. Looks like Matthew Woods has P2 secure right now, as it looks like Wineland's about half a second behind him. But the battle for P4 is heating up, as Wayne Grassy is just running side by side with him.
Indeed, they have. That's something that we were used to last week at Charlotte. Those two are just so close to each other in competition. That's what we're seeing out here again. You point out the fact Eddie Kerner starting to pull his way up to the field. He finds himself up into the 10th position. I believe he got the pass done on Cody Bird for that 9th position. So now move him up to P number 9. Is now on board with that number 7 of Grassi as they enter off into turn number 1. All over the back bumper of that 31 car. You have to lift it going off to turn number 2 to keep it off the wall. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. As on the 31 car, going to pull a little bit of a gap as they send it off into turn number 3. As now Matthew Woods falling into the little bit back into the prey of the 31 cars. They were going to come in close to having a 3-car fight for that second spot, as the lead to Bryson Hixenbaugh now up to 1.2 seconds, but the fight between Grassi and Wineland still not over, as now Wineland, all he can do right now, don't kill his tires again, because that's what killed him in the last stage and caused him to fall all the way back to about 5th or 6th. That's the last thing he wants to do. So he's doing everything he can to keep that 7 car from getting his inside, because if he does, it's almost game over for him.
Yeah, Hixenbaugh is definitely pulling a consistent gap here. Woods really was pushing the limits of both his car and the track. Definitely taking a lot of inspiration from a dirt track driver, dropping right up against that wall, against the safer barrier here. Maybe not so much in turns 1 and 2. We were watching the battle for 3 and 4, but that 48 was right up against the safer barrier in turns 3 and 4. Grassy definitely staying close with 31. They're trying out a lot of different lines, and that's something that's great about Kansas here. Wasn't sure what to expect here. In a lot of fixed setup racing here this week at the Kansas Speedway, we've seen tracks be very one-line, but the opportunity to have open setups here has really opened up opportunities for all sorts of lane choices.
Yeah, lane choices definitely plays a factor, especially during a day race. More so in Kansas at night, you see people, a lot running the top because, grip and everything. But as we see here, Wayne Grassy trying to work that bottom on the 31 here, trying to get the pass. Can't really get it done as we go into the front stretch here, as he just does not have the run. Let's see what he has going into turn 1. Doesn't look like he's going to get much there, as he still tries to hold it on the bottom on that white line. and just has really nothing for it. So Eric Wineland doing very, very well holding up that third spot.
And as they send off into turn number 3, you see that really good onboard looking at the back window of that number 31, seeing what he sees in his mirror, and all he has is a mirror full of yellow. That Pennzoil machine is all over him. He has not been able to pull away from him. Has a little bit of a safe distance between him now, but obviously with what the 7's been able to do around this racetrack when he catches up to him, he's just able to pull back in on him. So give that about 5 or 6 laps. Says, oh, the 31 car gets really loose off of turn number 2. He's going to save it, but as I talk about, here comes the 7 car. Now he's going to go back on the outside as they are side by side into turn number 3. Now it's a 31 on the bottom and a 7 on the top side. And I believe the 7 is going to have the preferred line if the 31 can't hold on to it. So now a little bit of a little hotter tire is going to make that car a little bit slippery. The track temp right now is at about 116 degrees. So that has stayed about neutral of what we saw the last time we checked it. So the track temps staying about the same as on the 31 car is going to fall back to the 4th position. So move Grassy back up to P3 as now Woods still creating a gap between him and 3rd place as Hicksonball is running away with the race lead as we're coming close to 20 to go here in stage number 2.
Woods is going to get past that lap car. Wineland, not definitely over for him, even for that 3rd place spot here. We have about 20 laps to settle it here between these two, and they're trying out a lot of different lines, but that 31 is still suffering from a lot of oversteer in the middle of the corner.
As we're watching the battle for 3rd, Paycon behind the 48 here, it looks like Bryson Hicksonbell has pulled a 1.7 second lead on Matthew Woods as we are currently watching the 7 of William Grassy here as he's trying to catch the 48. Will he get to him by the end of the stage? Not quite sure, as we are actually now on board with the 31 of Eric Wineland.
All right, man, caution is out.
And as we say that the caution is out, as now we got to try and figure out where that is. So that's another caution that's going to really stack up the field. Not what Hicksonball wanted to see, but that's exactly what Kerner wanted to see as we try to figure out where record is. I believe it is the 19 of Samuelson. He's going to go around again. Might have not the 19, the 16. The font on that car reminds me a lot of what Jason Leffler ran in around the final years of his life before that incident being ran those part-time at Pocono. So the font is really similar to that as he goes spinning again. And the apron is, oh yeah, just loses off of turn number 2, it looks like. And the keeps off the wall, thankfully, but that's really going to hurt his performances now. He's going to have to go back on the pit road and get those tires. So a really big fall from grace from the last restart when he found himself running up in the lead. As you look at the replay, trying to get around Hodgkinson, he found himself on the bottom all the way to turn number 1 and 2. See a little bit of loosey-goosey going to the corner, fighting it. Back in goes around, gets on the apron, and oh my goodness, man, turn number 2 is really biting these drivers hard tonight. We've seen 3 to 4 separate instances of drivers just really struggling up on turn number 2 and causing that just bit Ryan Samuelson now. So now he finds himself all the way down to the bottom, kept it off the wall, so no damage to him. So he's going to go down pit road because his tires is now go back alive as the entire field is going to come down pit road to get those tires to try and make it to the end of stage number 2.
Yeah, no, we have been seeing a lot of guys that are getting loose off of turn 2 today, and it's very uncommon that we see more incidents occurring off of turn 2 as opposed to turn 4 here at the Kansas Speedway. Normally, we tend to notice that, conventionally, incidents at Kansas do occur off of turn 4 because it seems that the wall is a lot tighter in terms of its angle as opposed to turn 2, and you have a lot more room to wash up in turn 2. But cars are getting pretty loose. Looks like mostly 4 tires for these guys. Coming out first, it's going to be the 6'3" Hicksonball. Kerner is going to... it's a little hard to tell if he's going to gain or lose spots. I believe he entered around 7th or 8th, and he's going to come out about 7th position. Definitely not over for him in the stage. He's going to have about 12 or 13 laps to settle it. Hicksonball does come out of pit road in that first position. Woods 2nd, Grassy 3rd, Wineland 4th. Jeremy Morrison in the 22 will be in the 5th position.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the, early on where Eddie Kerner dropped to the end and, with the stage win from the last time, is we saw, we have about 15, 16 laps of the stage left. And we saw this the last time, he dropped back to about 12th on the stage, and now he's starting back in the top 10. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see Eddie Kerner just tear up through the field to pick up his first stage win of tonight, and just of the series in general.
And with that thought, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll bring it back to you just before the green flag. Stay tuned here on PitStop TV as we get ready to finish off stage number 2. Welcome back, race fans, to PitStop TV for the live coverage of the Abilene Woods Project LLC presents the Healthcare Workers 400. As now we are 1 to green as the pace truck takes that hard left on a pit road once again. Hicksonball going to resume the race lead as they enter the restart zone as he's hard on the gas. Wineland now all on the back bumper as we head back to racing as Matthew Woods gets hung out to dry as they head back off into turn number 1, but not too far behind them. You're going to find Eric Kerner again. He had that issue in the last restart under caution. Now he finds himself running back up into the 5th position, so he's back up into the field. Did not take him long to refine himself as he's looking all over to the inside of Morrison, trying to make something happen. We have a fight for the race lead as Eric Wineland and Hicksonball go side by side. Something we're used to seeing out of those two happening once again here today as they're going to go dead even at the start-finish line. I don't even know who led that lap. It was Wineland. So new leader Wineland as he leads his first lap of the day as he sent off back into turn number 1 as Morrison now under pressure from the 98 as now I believe, yes, 6-3 car is going to clear him off of turn number 2 as now it is Hicksonball and Wineland, your 1-2 as they head off into 3.
3 thousandths of a second is the margin at the line between the 6-3 and the 31. Eric Wineland going to lead the lap, but he does drop back after running on the inside line turns 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and now he's under trouble from behind. Jeremy Morrison making his way up the farthest up the leaderboard today. He's in the 3rd position, looking on the inside of that 31 machine. Kerner making his way all the way back to the front. He's in the 4th position. Could he contend for the win? He has about 10 laps left to try to get to that P1 spot, currently held by Hicksonball.
Yeah, a little bobble out of the 7 car there, it looked like. But yeah, as we say, Eddie Kerner is now on the bottom, making a run for P2. He might be able to get it as we go into turn 1 here. Not quite sure. Looks like he's going to round out P3. But he's got, 8-9 laps to make the run for the stage win. I think he might be able to get it.
Absolutely, Eddie Kerner. I don't know if I've been catching it off guard, but it's Eddie Kerner. My apologies if I have. He's running up in 3rd. If this was a NASCAR heat game, you'd believe he had that momentum thing that they have going on there, because right now he is a man on a mission back up there in 3rd, fighting the biggest 2 drivers in the series that are 1-2 in the points, making it look like easy work as he sends it off into turn number 3 as look at him go. Clears both of them almost have a car length on that 63 car as they come off of turn number 2. He is putting up a fight and saying, hey, I'm here and I'm here to stay, as he is really putting the power down in that 98 car heading off into turn number 3, as now the fight that we've seen all races back again did not take long, as now they're going to be dead even coming across the stripe, but it's going to be Hickson to lead that lap, as now Weinley going to give him the push, as it looks like the goal of these leaders, keep that man in dirty air, bully him back there and keep him out of the lead, because if he gets in clean air, they know this thing is all but over as they approach the 5 to go mark for the end of stage 2.
98 paints the white line in 1 and 2, doesn't quite clear the 63. He came about to his front set of tires, could not clear the car, and now he's going to fall back to third position. He's going to have to regroup. He's going to have about 6 laps to do. We come to take lap 154. It's actually going to be 7 laps to go here. Stage 2. Hicksenbauer pulls a gap of about a 10.5 over the 31 of Eric Weinland. We go on board here with Kerner, and we see him go to the high side for one of the rare times today while he's been up front. King of the bottom so far here in this 400-mile race today. 31 starting to close back up, getting a lot of slipstream down the straightaway. He's going to ride a little bit closer to that outside wall. 98 nearly lays the bumper onto the 31. He's going to come off the corner. He might have a run as we head into the entry 1. He looks to the outside.
You want to talk about laying the bumper? He actually did lay the bumper to him in the middle of the corner and was actually pushing him. As I was just about to say that we did not want to see a caution as one just now comes out.
As we try to find that out, that again, I believe that is Ryan Samuelson in the 16. Looks to be again a problem of turn number 2, biting more and more drivers. And that's going to bite him again. As now we're going to order caution. As I believe that will bring us to the end of stage number 2. So sadly, haven't been able to really see the fight. You see the replay absolutely again. They're just on his lonesome, come off of turn number 2, back end steps out, and then he's just along for the ride. As look at this, he's going to slam it to the left, try to keep off the wall. Oh, I thought he was going to do it. Just pancakes it, flatten that thing like a piece of cardboard. As now that car is as oh wow, damaged the entire left side of that car. That was a hard hit to the driver's door, the number 16.
Unfortunate. He has been struggling quite a bit today, unfortunately, from that 24 starting position. He I forget which restart it was, but he did stay out to get those lap-led bonus points here. I believe they're available in the series. Correct me if I'm wrong. Unfortunately, it's just not working out too well today. It seems the car seems to be handling quite poorly here for that number 16 machine of Ryan Samuelson. Pitch should be open for the leaders this time, but we'll see if anyone ducks down, because we're looking at potentially a 1 or 2 lap shootout here at the end of the stage.
It actually looked like we had some people checking up into pit road there. It looks like the 98 about ran over the 31. So here's something to question here. Are anybody going to take 2 tires to potentially get track position for a stage win here? Or do you think anybody's going to, or do you think they're all just going to take 4 tires and, get on for the next run?
That is the big question, whether or not you're playing for the short run or the long run. We saw Kerner do that in the stage 1. He gave up that lead on about the second to last caution before stage 1. He ended up coming back and almost winning the stage before that caution came out. Eddie Kerner coming out of pit road got real loose. I think he might have gotten beaten off pit road by the 31. He tried exiting the pits as fast as he can, had a little bit of wheel spin, held on to it, and I believe he's going to come back in 3rd. So the top 3 is going to remain the same, I believe, unless we had anybody stay out, which I believe we did. Tommy Amos and that beautiful Allison throwback that we saw at Charlotte a week ago, back at it again here in the Havoline Ford, as now he takes over the race lead, and that Robert Yates throwback as they exit off of turn number 4. He is going to resume the race lead, as I believe that is Cameron Stone behind him. No, Demarius Hickenbottom. He was in the 21st position. I believe he might be a lap down. Yes, he is 41 laps down. As here comes Amos. Now he comes down to the pits. He said, all right, I got my lap led. I had my time on TV. I'm going to go take these tires and get out of the way. As now here comes Hicksenball to resume the race lead, as we might bring it down to 1 to go. If hopefully we're able to see a fight for the green flag stage to end stage number 2. As yes, indeed. Nope, pace cars like they're still on.
Yep, definitely nothing wrong with that call for the number 28 to pick up that lap lead in that lovely Havoline scheme. But yeah, he just hasn't quite had the pace to stay up front in the top 5 today. But he's staying consistent. There's no denying the fact that he could be in the running for a top 5 if he just keeps at it. Keeps consistent, conserves his equipment. We've seen a lot of attrition today. There's currently only 16 cars on the lead lap today. Long way to go. We are coming to, I believe, 2 to go on the stage here, so there's the potential for the one-lap shootout. I believe if the stage is to end at the completion of lap 160, because we are coming to take lap 159 this time by.
Yeah, it looks like the stage will be completed under yellow, so it does look like Bryson Hicksonbaugh will pick up the stage 2 win as he has swept stage 1 and stage 2 tonight.
Well, it also comes into question on whether or not what the admins do, because you remember these stage cautions aren't in the game. That's up to the admin's discretion. So it depends on them. We might see a 1 to 2 lap shootout to conclude stage number 2, right, to see what the pace truck says as they come across the start finish line. Will we see the 1 to go? Yes, we will. Lights are off on the pace truck. We're going to double back up for what might be a 1-lap shootout for the stage finish, depending on what the admins decide to do about this within the rulebooks. Because we thought that the 98 car won the stage, ended up being the 63 car, so or more so, I believe. I forget what it was. There's a stack up going on there, as now the field's going to double up, as we might see a last lap shootout to decide our stage 2 winner on whether or not Hexenbach can sweep it, or if Kerner can get his first stage win in his debut.
Kerner is going to be in an unfamiliar situation here in this restart. Conventionally today, he's been in that first place position. But I believe this might be the second time, but I think this is the first time the 98 is going to be starting on the outside. So he's been the one that's been getting a game today. Let's see if 63 pulls any strategy here. As we come to the restart zone.
And this is, in fact, going to be a 1-lap mad dash to decide our stage 2 winner. I apologize on Trey Patton for jumping in on him, but I had to get that out there so that way our viewers at home can realize that. And I'll hand it back to Patton so that way now he gets the glory of getting the call this restart for this last lap round of the finish.
Yeah, my apologies on that. I was looking into the rulebook there and miscalled this. The green flag is out as Hicksonbaugh gets a heck of a jump here with the 31 right on his bumper with the 98 on the outside line. So I don't know if he'll actually be able to get a run here, but it's all going to be about holding that bottom, holding the 31 behind him to actually sweep the stage victory here.
Off of turn number 2 they go. Hicksonbaugh with the race lead. Weiland in second. Will he make the dive going into turn number 3? He's going to hold on to it. Here comes the 98 with a charge. He's been so powerful on the bottom. Is he going to get it this time? No, he will not. The 63 car of Ryan Hicksonbaugh, as I believe, is going to hold on to the stage win, as we have to see if the yellow comes out as they cross the start finish line. We stay green for the moment. That might have been a 2 to go situation, depending on what it is. We are still green at the moment. Hicksonbaugh hold on to the race lead. Weiland is second, and Kerner, as I believe. And there's a caution. We have a caution out.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt there, but it looked like the 27 might have gotten turned and just collected about 4 or 5 cars there.
And as you look at the replay, yeah, a really big stack going down the back straightaway. The 27 car, Pachuco, he is running backwards on the racetrack, now tail spinning after slamming the rear end into the wall, as now people are just trying to avoid depending on where to go, as we're going to have to try and figure out who did in fact win that stage, because we thought it was a 1-lap dash. We don't know exactly what happened. So we're going to have to try and figure that out later in the race, as we thought the rule was 1-lap dash. They come out before. Ooh, Pachuco gets in with Woods. Woods ends up getting slammed to the wall. 2-wheeling down the backstretch. Here comes Kevin Steele trying to avoid it, all the way down to the bottom. The 55 is going to follow him, as you see the cars just everywhere, as this 27 is trying to hold on to it. He is going to back it into that American ethanol wall and up tail spinning. Goes, oh wow! The 3 car barely avoids Woods as he goes for a ride. Keep it off the wall, son. Tail spinning down it. Did he pull off a drift? No, he's going to maybe do a 180 perhaps. Nope, he's believe gonna back in. Yep, kiss that wall. So I thought it was a save. No, it is not.
Tough luck.
All right. So an update on the rule situation that we had going. The rule is that if a caution comes out with around 5 to go, they decide to call that for the end of the stage. So that is exactly the situation that we have now, as that was actually the beginning of stage number 3. So Hicksonbaugh is going to sweep the stages here today at Kansas Speedway, as Weiland's going to round it out in second, as Kerner actually I believe is maybe going to take over third. It's hard to tell, as I believe he went down on Pier Road. As we're going to try and get an interview with our stage 1 and 2 winner, as we believe we have him in the interview booth. I wait for is Mr. Hicksonbaugh, do you have a copy? Is no Carmichael up at the PitStop TV booth?
I do.
Well, it seems to be your race, despite the fact that the 98 cars are putting up a fight. How did you expect maybe to do this well with the 98 cars throwing at you?
I did not. Like I said in stage 1, he's got a really fast long run car. It's just we've had enough cautions that he hasn't been able to get to the front and really drive away like he probably should. It's on that last stint, he had went to the end of the field because he had some connection issues, but he was charging up to the front there.
Absolutely, and we saw on the restart that Wineland actually gave you big help going to turn number 1. Just how much of a help was that seeing that 31 car that you've been fighting with all season all over your back bumper on the restart?
Oh yeah, that was a big shove. We're working together in this race, trying to beat Eddie if we can. Got both of us clear of him going into turn 1, which helped a lot.
All right, and I mean, this interstage number 3, it seems that this might be the longest run barring any cautions. What is your plan to try and tackle the remaining 104 laps of this race?
Fortunately, I haven't had really time to see if my adjustments have worked to the car to make it better for the long run. I might have to do some strategy plays here to see if I can beat Eddie, but it's going to be tough.
All right, well, congratulations on sweeping the stages, and good luck here for the final 100 or so laps of this race.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and that is your stage 2 winner, Mr. Bryson Hicksonbaugh. As we under caution right now, as we're going to try and take advantage of this moment. I wanted to try and do this under stage 1, but I didn't really get the chance, as now we have to pay the bills real quick to our sponsor, A Billion Wood Projects LLC. A Billion Wood Projects is a custom carpentry company headquartered in Georgia, working with customers since 2017 to bring dream in-home projects and event pieces to life. For custom-built bookcases, shelving, Murphy beds, kitchen tables, breakfast nooks, benching, and even more, stop by abillionwoodprojectsllc.com. Planning an event? ABWP has you covered. A Billion Wood Projects also have their 1 in a billion rental services for all events to provide quality LED lit numbering and lettering. Reach out today for a consultation. Be sure to follow Billion Wood Projects LLC on Instagram and Facebook for a raffle giveaways. And obviously, I want to give a huge shout out to those guys. They have really stepped up to help sponsor this league as we go back 1 to green. So give a quick shout out, because without them, they would not be here to broadcast these races. So thank you to those guys so much. As now the pace truck falls off of pit lane, and then the 63 car is going to bring him to the green. He's going to get the jump, as now we fly down the front straightaway to bring it back green for the remaining laps of this race.
Hicksonbaugh to the point, and it's been the tail here in the middle stages of the races. That 63 has just been tough to contend with for most of these guys. Yes, they've had spots here and there of contending for the lead on the short run, but his car's just been pretty consistent on the long run when the 98 hasn't been able to be up there. 22 looking forward on the short run here. Morrison on the inside, looking for the lead here out of the entry of 4, with Wineland in tow.
Yeah, the 55 actually had a wiggle there. As we come across the line, it looks like the 63 is just going to edge him at the line, with the 31 on his tail, as we got a run going on the bottom with the 22 going into turn 2 onto the back straightaway here. And it looks like Eddie Kerner is actually going to round himself out. Sorry, a little bit of blink in there in the back. It looks like he's going to be 6th place here, as the 63 is still on the point.
Hicksonbaugh again running out with the race lead. Morrison trying to put the pressure there on the 31 going to the tri-oval. He's on the apron. He's going to try and make it work on the inside, as 98, that's Eddie Kerner, trying to make something happen as a Wayne Grassi in the 55. I'm trying to remember his name as I look on the time in scoring. That is Brandon Goley. Brandon Goley, I believe he made his debut last week at Charlotte. He's having a pretty good run for himself after what happened last week, as now Kerner finds himself running up there in a 4th spot. He's said, I'm not done with you guys yet. You think you can get away from me? No, you cannot. So now what their goal is, like I said in the last one, bully that man. Keep him behind you. Keep him in that dirty air. You cannot give that man the chance to get on the inside, get that clean air, and pull in front of you. Because if you do, it's almost game over. Because the only person who had any sort of chance of putting up a fight with him tonight has been Hicksonball. But if you get that man stuck in dirty air, then he has no choice but to try and bide his time. And that's what they're doing. As now Morrison on the bottom, Wiley on the top. He's going to stick him in the middle. It's like, hey, you want to take it? I dare you to take it. He says, no, I'm fine. They're going to hold on to it as they're now side by side down the front straight for the 2nd spot as Hicksonball holds on to the race lead.
Wineland and Hicksonball may be some of the series' most fierce competitors, but it looks like they're working together. Hicksonball let us know in his stage break interview after his stage win that the two really want to make sure that Kerner, who is essentially a series invader, does not get the W here at Kansas. He's going to go to the inside. He's going to protect on the 98, although Kerner is going to go on the side of Morrison. So the top 3 currently stands as Hicksonball with about a 10th or 2 up on Wineland, but now that 98 is pressuring the 31 as we enter turn 1.
Yeah, as he slides up and takes the 3rd spot away, now he's going to run to the bottom and try to take away that 2nd spot from the 31 of Eric Wineland here as he slides up in front of the 22 on the high side as we go down the back straightaway into turn 3.
Hicksonball still holding on to the race lead. Wineland in 2nd. The newcomer, Eddie Kerner, who has been really putting on a show here today, showing these boys how it's done. As he looks to the inside of Wineland now, they're side by side going down into turn number 1. My bad, as now the 98 car of Kerner slides it into P2, so now he takes over the run-up spot, but here comes Wineland trying to do something. He says, no you don't, you had your time in the sun, as now Wineland all over the back bumper. He doesn't forget the fact that the 98 gave him a little bit of bumper going into turn number 3. He's going to return a favor again, as now they go back into turn number 3, as now Wineland in 2nd, as he's in a 3-car fight over the 3rd spot, as now Eddie Kerner has his sights set back on that 63 Casey's General Store Chevrolet. Pretty different pace keeper we saw last week in the nighttime of that. I'm trying to remember what it was, the Firehouse Subs Chevy, so a pretty different paint scheme on that 63 car. As now he's holding on to the race lead as the 98 car trying to run him down and take back the race lead.
3 or 4 car lengths for the lead, but the 31 and the 32 is the current closest battle on track up front. Wineland taking the high side through 3 and 4 near the wall. And he's going to defend from the 22. 22 drops back about a couple car lengths as we enter into turn 1. Single file in the top 5, but we're only separated by less than a second between these 5 cars. Anyone's game.
Yeah, Eddie Kerner's trying to do what he can to bring himself back up into the race lead, but as far as we can see, he's not getting very much. It looked like, he just needs that clean air, and he's not able to get to it yet, so he has sudden surges of a run he can get, and then just certain times he just does not get what he wants, as it looks like further on back into the top 5 there, it looks like Wayne Grassi is kind of getting a run, but it's just kind of singling out here.
And that's what these guys kind of want to see. Get that run going again, trying to get a long green flag run. As we talked about Hicksonball, I asked him, what's your plan for this final stage? And I don't really have one because I haven't been able to test out any adjustments I made to the car. So this is the best chance he has to do it. He has to try and bide his time, hope for a long green flag run, and see how that car performs in the later half of this race. And that seems to be a problem for a lot of drivers. They seem to have these long run setup cars, but not able to try anything with it because of the fact that all these cautions come out. So this is a perfect time for these guys to try and get something going. The stage 3 is over 107 laps, already about 10 to 15 laps into it, as now here comes an 88 of Kerner looking to the inside, but back there for the 4th spot, Morrison and Grassi are going to put up one heck of a fight for the 4th spot, as the 4th spot is a battle for 4th, as now Wineland holds on to the 3rd spot, holding right around the middle between 1st and 2nd and 4th and 5th, as the fight for the lead rages on, as we've seen all night, as now Hicksonball doing everything he can to keep the 98 car behind him.
To back up your point there, Noah, we do have only 15 cars left on the lead lap here, so we're definitely getting into this zone where our chances of seeing yellows due to incidents is really going to decrease as we see less and less cars on the track. It's down to 1 car length for the lead. Wayne Grassy is currently holding pace over the 22 of Jeremy Morrison. So right now, we should be keeping all eyes on these top two. Kerner being consistent, keeping pressure on that 63. When's he going to look to the bottom is the question. Could be in 3 and 4 here.
Yeah, he's getting a heck of a run, as you just said. He's looking for the bottom as he had that run. Will he actually clear him? Yes, he will, as he slides up right in front of that 63 machine to take the top spot as we cross the line for 179.
And that is the last thing that 63 car wanted. He is all over the back bumper, trying to hold on to as best as he can. But the 98 car runs the bottom, the 63 car runs the top. And that's where that gap is going to be created, because the 63 car tries to take the long way around. Because of the fact he doesn't have any help around him, he's stuck trying to hold on to it. But as he gets to run on the draft, just like out the rear window of that 98 car into turn number 3, doing everything he can to pull out a gap. Pretty clear sails in front of him, as the lap cars aren't really an issue anymore, as they make their way past our finish line and down into turn number 1. Is now we're maybe going to see a bit of a long run, and seeing that lead stretch out again. You see that gyro cam. Look at the banking on this racetrack as the 63 car sails off into turn number 2. Down the back straightaway, he's going to be approaching the speeds up to about 193 miles an hour, maybe, if he has the toe. Peaking at 186 as he sails off into turn number 3. Again, running it on that where that's, you see it. There's that second dash. As the 98 car had a little bit of issues, a little bit of internet connection as he came off of turn number 4. You saw the smoke there. As now he's going to fall back a little bit into the clutches of the 63 car. But Wayne Grassy now, he's cleared Morrison. Now he's going to try and put up a fight for that third spot on the 31. So again, the fight is reborn. We've seen the fight between the 98 and the 63, but we've been paying attention also to the fight that's raging on for almost the entire race between the 31 and the 7.
Definitely right there. These guys have been fighting hard, tooth and nail for that last podium spot. While we've seen a lot of guys come and go due to damage, attrition, just poor pitting, these two have been pretty consistent since the middle stages of the race. They are basically the closest battle on track right now. 8th and 9th position, Cody Mabry. Dakota Knoll just got past Cody Bird for that 8th position. So that was a pass on track. But up front, it's the 31 and the 7. That's a story right now. Hicksenbauer has calmed the gap. He has stabilized that gap for the lead between him and the 98. So as we enter that pit cycle, once we get to about 50 or 60 to go, that's where we can make it to the end. And, once we get to that point, we could definitely be looking at going to the end. No yellow.
A look back now further in your field right now as we're looking at on the screen Preston McRae and that PPG number 53 as they make their way through the tri-oval. The damaged car, I believe that is Delaney right behind him. He doesn't really have to worry about anything, if I'm correct, as those cars behind him are all damaged, I believe, and off pace. That's Jonathan Delaney and that's Demarius Hickenbottom. Demarius Hickenbottom 47 laps down in 20th position, in the 18th position where you find Delaney, he is 44 laps down. But as for trying to get a Preston McRae, he finds himself running in the 12th position, 2 spots out of the top 10, trying to run down Drumhiller and a number 30 car as best as he can, but to no avail. As right now those two have fallen off the pace as Tommy Amos is exiting turn number 2 right now, all by his lonesome, trying to run down to 64 of Cody Bird, who's trying to go to Dakota Knoll. So a lot of people chasing down each other. As an update on the Ryan Samuelson situation, he has called it a day, parked it in the garage, 16 car out of the race. So add another DNF to the line of wrecked cars in the garage area. But out front still, Eddie Kerner has started to open up the gap again, as now he has almost a 2-second lead selling off into turn number 3.
Gap is, it's grown a little bit since a few laps ago. 63 not giving up hope yet, but his hope may be fading here. We'll see how the car reacts as we get longer and longer into this run. We're getting closer and closer to that pit stop, although we still have about 80 laps to go. About half a second between 3rd and 4th place right now. Eric Weinland still being consistent, holding a bit of a pace over Wayne Grassy. If the closest battle that we're looking at on screen currently, it looks to be between Tommy Amos and Cody Bird. So that's for the 9th position here, rounding out the top 10. That number 28 is a little bit beat up, it looks like. It's a little tough to tell. But, he's been consistent. He hasn't been incredibly quick today, but he's looking at picking up a pretty solid points day if he can keep that car clean and bring home a top 10 finish here today.
Honestly, that's really all it bottles down to is consistency is key. you may not have to win a bunch of races, just trying to even get into the playoffs here. But, as long as you're consistent and you're getting top 10 after top 10, you're getting those playoff points. And then when it comes down to that part of the season, it's all about the points. And, as long as he's staying consistent like that, he might be able to lock himself into the point standings there, as we're on board with the 28 of Tommy Amos.
Absolutely. We had a little bit of notes written down about the number 28. He gained a position in the playoff standings last week at Charlotte. He made a strong return to the league at Charlotte with a fast driver to steer third for the championship. He had a late race incident with the 20 of Danny Myatt running to the line as he's trying to see if he can have a little bit hard race between him and the 20. Right now, that 28 car sits P10 of the points. He's third on the list of drivers who have not won a race. So this is a very good way to see him trying to turn this race around. As we talked about, consistency is key, especially if you're a driver who don't have wins. So these top 10 finishes means everything to a guy like this. If you can't get the win, you just get the top 10s. Get the consistency. Get those average finishes up. Remember, the 2003 NASCAR Cup Series Championship, Matt Kenseth only won one race, but the way you win championships is being the best driver with the average finish, and right now that is exactly what he's doing, is he's making his name known here in the Galaxy Cup Series.
Yes, Amos is doing an excellent job here tonight. He's not the most vocal name out here tonight, and he hasn't picked up a win yet this season, but he's doing a heck of a job in the series so far in this 2020 season. Another storyline worth noting here. Right behind him in the 10th position, Cody Bird entered tonight 17th. He's the first car outside of the playoffs as we come in here to the this race here tonight. With a DNF from Zach Probst, who finished 30th. He has the potential to move into that 16th spot as we head into the next round. So not only is he going to pick up a top 10, but he's going to ride a lot of momentum as we get closer and closer into the playoffs.
Yeah, you hit that just what I was about to say, with just, him sitting right on the bubble, and with Zach having a DNF, it's going to be a really, really good night there for the 64 machine, especially to get that spot into the playoffs now.
Yeah, and I was talking about the idea of the fact of being consistent, and that's exactly what he wants. Because keep this in mind, Christopher Herman, he sits 8th in the points. He is the highest running car in the point standing without a win. DNF, he got involved in a late race accident. He's parked it. He's in his motorhome watching on. Demarius Hickenbottom in the 09, he's been struggling too. He's off pace. He's multiple laps down, not even in the top 20, I believe. I'm trying to see where he finds himself right now, but regardless, not the way he wants to see his race play out. He is a lap down with a really damaged race car running in 19, so he's one position out of the top 20 with a missing rear bumper. So this is not the race he wants, but right now, this is the best thing that he has going for him in that 28 car. Because regardless or not whether he gets the win, if he finishes where he is, he could possibly jump a couple of these drivers, because right now he's 130 points good at going into the championship from the cutoff line. Demarius Hickenbottom was at 172 and Haman's at 185, so it's a pretty close battle for that 8th spot. And with the playoff points he could get out of this race, depending on where he finished, he is in a really good spot to have a fantastic day for his points battle.
Yeah, Noah. So we were on board with now we go on board with the 28. We were looking at that 09 a little bit ago. He enters tonight 9th in points, so he was without a rear trunk, but Demarius Hickenbottom doing what he can, staying in the race, as he is looking on the outside of the number 30 machine. Excuse me for a second, that's Randy Drumheller in the 11th position. It is Hickenbottom.
He actually got into the wall there.
He's going to hold on to it, though, and we are going to stay green, it looks like. Again, when it rains, it pours for him. That's something I said in the Lucky Dog Sim Racing Series, which you can catch every Tuesday in the final 2 races. So the man out of Georgia, he's going to spin it maybe? No, he holds on to it. No, he is just fighting that car as much as he can, as he's going to try and bring it to the pits, hopefully, to try and keep that car at one piece of what he has left of it, as that 09 car slowly going on the bottom, running in the 19th position. Right now, he knows he's out of a chance for the win. He's out of a chance for maybe even a top 10. He's going to take it down the pit road. He's going to miss the pit cone, too, while he's at it. So terrible 2 laps for the 09 car.
Not good for the 09 there. I believe that penalty is going to hold him for quite a bit of time for an unsafe entry. 09's going to drop more laps. Fortunately for him, 10 laps to the 20th place car, so he's not going to lose any positions, but it could hurt him if there's more attrition here. For example, Jonathan Deloney's in the 18th position, and he's about 5 laps up on the 09 right now, so not what you want to see for Hickenbottom. We go back and we're looking at the 28 and the 36 right now. This is for position, for the 8th position. Tommy Amos is trying to hold off that 36 at Dakota Noah. Again, we've talked about these guys a little bit, but just staying consistent, surviving, it's going to be enough to earn them a top 10 if they keep it up as we enter the last 60 or 70 laps of the race here.
Yeah, especially these battles back now as we're on board with the 30 machine of Randy Drummiller. He's currently sitting in 12th, making a run on the 53 machine. Doesn't really have much going on here, but looks like he has a pretty clean race car as he's making a run here. So as long as he can keep that thing clean, he might be able to slice his way up into the top 10.
And just for anyone who is watching along right now, just a quick update on your leader right now. If you look behind the 30 cars where you're going to find the 98 of Eddie Kerner, he's going to look to the inside and put him a lap down. He currently holds a 3-second lead over Bryson Hicksonbaugh. So a lot of the Galaxy regulars that have been here all season is just getting their doors blown off. Well, their non-existent doors blown off by the number 98 cars. He is just running away with this race right now. The long run is really playing into effect. So we're starting to see now more and more of what these drivers have been wanting to do. See how these cars handle the long run. See what the adjustments can do as we are really close to approaching the 50 to go mark. So this race is really winding down. And right now, the man on the move and the man who is looking to go to victory lane here today in the Great Plains of Kansas is that 98 car as he is running away with this.
The top 2 right now, Eddie Kerner, Bryson Hicksonbaugh, they started 1 and 2. So they are really controlling the pace here, even if Hicksonbaugh is falling off a little bit out of the off the 98. The 98, we predicted earlier in the race when we weren't getting a lot of opportunities that he definitely had a solid long run car, and he's proving it here. Hicksonbaugh has closed up a couple tenths here in the last couple of laps, though. He was 3 tenths off in the last lap, but it was about 4.5 seconds down to 4.2. He crosses the line at 4.6. We go on board with Eric Wineland here. So Wineland has lost the position to Grassy here for the 3rd position about 5 laps ago, I believe. I don't think we captured it. But yeah, that's for the podium position between a couple of regulars. Wineland doing what he can here, although we are looking at pit stop soon, so that does allow an opportunity to mix up the field.
Yeah, as you saw there, it looked like he may have caught a piece of the wall there. I'm not quite sure, but he was basically painting that wall with that car. As we are looking at the 7 machine of Wayne Grassy, who is in 3rd now, who's still quite a ways back from the 63 of Hicksonbaugh, but he's been battling for that 3rd spot all night long as he finally is able to capture it. And it looks like the 31 is having some internet issues. Not really sure what was going on there, but yeah, Eddie Kerner just putting on a clinic tonight as he's got about a 5-second lead now as we are on lap 203 of 267.
Absolutely, as this long run kind of plays out, we start to see more and more of who has the perfect setup and who doesn't. And right now, talking about that is in fact Eddie Kerner. Bryson Hicksonbaugh, the man that we usually see out front, he finds himself in second, almost 5 seconds back as he goes around the 30 car now out of turn number 4 as he's trying to get through lap traffic. That plays in the hands of Wayne Grassy pretty well. He's about 2 to 3 seconds back behind him as well, trying to close the gap on him as he's still fighting a 30 car into turn number 1. Now he clears him going into the first corner as he puts the pressure down to try and catch up to the PPG car of Preston McRae. So we're about to hit the 10 cars on the lead lap mark because Cody Bird is a car at 10. He's actually in turn 4. Guess he's also actually in turn 4. This 98 car of Eddie Kerner. So we're as this long race goes around, we're starting to see more and more cars go a lap down. So if a caution comes out, that's really going to really mess up the running order of this race and kind of pressure it down to who can win and who can't. As now the 98 car going to the inside, 9 cars in the lead lap now, as the next car still in the lead lap is going to be Dakota Knoll, who is still in a fight trying to chase down Tommy Amos, who hasn't been able to do anything. Jeremy Morrison, Jeremy Morrison's on pit road. So we're seeing pit stops play out now. The 22 car, who was running up in the top 10 all day, he finds himself on pit road, going to take a risk and try and pit early to try and see if he can make it to the end of the race. As you see the fight going on, the 36 car trying to get around the 27 as they enter off into turn number 3. An update on Morrison. He exits the pits now. Right now, Richard Verchuco, who is a lap down, getting held up, is holding up that 63 car. As now the 22 car exits pit road. He's fallen a lap down. Now he's hoping that a caution doesn't come out, because if it does come out, that's going to ruin his race.
You said it, Noah. The money stop has occurred for that number 22, and we're into what could be potentially the final pit cycle here. So it's going to be interesting to see how those new tires play out for Morrison, but it's also going to be interesting to see if he can even make it to the end of the race. He's really going to be pushing it here. He has to go about 62 laps to the end of the race here for Jeremy Morrison. So if we're looking at the stint for the current leaders right now, Eddie Kerner, who's leading, it's been 44 laps since his last pit, which is 6 less laps than most of the rest of the field, such as Hicksenbaugh, Wineland, Grassi, and Gullet in the 5th position. So he has a little bit more leeway, but we're definitely getting down to the nitty-gritty here. And we're at a really critical point of the race here.
Yeah, expect to see these leaders probably come down with probably about the 35 to go mark. That'd be my guess. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think they can stretch it out probably another 20, 25 laps, and then you'll expect to see him come in for the final stop. As the car behind the leader actually gets into the wall a little bit there, keeps it going as we are on lap 209 here.
And as they sail off into turn number 1, Dakota Knoll is going to pit from the 9th position. He's going to go a lap down now as we see more and more cars take what could be their final pit stop of the race. The question for Eddie Kerner, though, is he's been struggling on pit road the last few pit stops under caution. He's been sliding into the pit box a little further than he needs to be, and that's been costing him a little bit. You see it happen if you look on the pit stops under caution, and if we've ever had a chance to look at it, he'll go into pit road and enter in the pit box. He goes way too forward, so he is like on the line of getting called too far forward. And if that happens, that is the end of his race, essentially. He's lucky to have a 6.4 gap, but remember, it is won and lost on pit road, and if a green flag stop happens for these leaders, then Kerner is going to have to hit his marks on the point. And right now, that has not seemed to be his strong suit throughout most of the race. It's closing down to the end of this race, and that could be an area where Hicksenbaugh can make up a ton of time.
It's definitely been his weakness so far up to this point, Noah. Another thing that these guys have to look out for as they're coming for, and for the most part, it's everyone's first green flag pit stop today at Kansas, and it's a pit entry that's a little difficult to get into on tires that are incredibly worn. So it's going to be a real test for these guys to get in at pit road speed and not lock up the tires or spin out on entry and miss pit road.
Yeah, especially you just nailed it there. Especially on old tires, being worn, trying to get it slowed down, not spin out, not lock them up. It's going to be really difficult considering, Kansas is good about using up those right side tires. So especially on a long run, you might not have much of your right front left. So you want to protect what you can on pit entry, because if you don't, you will be spinning out or you will be in the grass.
Another thing to point out as you look on the top of your screen there, you see a 31 and the 7 car putting up a fight again for what is around the 3rd position. But an update on the weather. The last time we updated you, it was 116 degrees. It has dropped almost 10 degrees. The temperature is falling and the grip is going to rise. So now we're down to 108 degrees on your track temp. Partly cloudy with a 68 degrees. That hasn't changed much. But thanks to the cloud cover, the track temp is falling and falling fast compared to what we're used to seeing. So that could really play into the hands of any person who might have a car set up for this kind of situation. We're going to really see it. The gap is now 6.5 seconds between first and second, as Eric Wineland and Grassi, as they exit off of turn number 4, they are about 2.5 car lengths off of each other as they run it down to complete lap 213. As now the question still remains, when are you going to see your pit stop? You might have seen it on the corner of your screen. Amos took his final pit stop of the race, so now he finds himself a lap down. He's running all the way back in the 13th position, so he's fallen back quite a bit, and we're going to see where he cycles out on pit road.
Yeah, no, you did hit the nail on the head with the weather changes, and it's pretty interesting to note that we've seen a lot more cloud cover here in the middle and late stages of the race. It's also interesting to note, though, that the race did start at noon, and we're getting at what is normally like the peak of temperature in terms of track temperature here. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon in terms of game. We see Wineland into pit road. He's gonna, I believe, yes, overcut. No. It's an undercut on the 7 to Grassy. Hixenbaugh also into pit road from that second place position. Let's see how these guys do here on the money stop.
Yeah, Hixenbaugh in as well. And it looks like Eddie Kerner is still out on the racetrack. Looks like he might try and maybe get as much of the field a lap down as he can, which is a potential strategy, but I don't think he'll be able to get most of the field now, as you see Hixenbaugh exiting the pit road as Eddie Kerner is, just now in turn 4.
Yes, we're going to have to see where that winds out as they come across the start-finish line. It's going to put about, I believe, 2 cars maybe left on the lead lap. Yes, it is. Wayne Grassi is still on the lead lap. He's 13 seconds back, 24 seconds behind the leaders. We're going to find a 3 car. So what these guys are kind of hoping for, and would be a blessing for Eddie Kerner, a caution comes out, because that's going to stick all those people who stayed out on – who took those pit stops a lap down are going to take a wave around, which is going to hurt them in the long run because Eddie Kerner is having about 5 or 6 laps. As here comes the leader. The leader down a pit road. This is the key moment of the race. Is he going to overshoot his pit box? He has to hit it on the marks. An update on Wayne Grassley to see if he comes into pit road. Right now, he is entering through turns 3 and 4. Keep an eye on your screen as here he comes out of turn number 4. He's going to stay out. So now he's going to retake the lead. But right now, all eyes on the 98 car as he approaches this pit stall. Oh, big problems for him. I don't know if he misses. If he thought his pit stop was earlier, as he's going to enter his pit box. He's going to slam it on the marks. So that's really going to hold him up on pit road. As now the right side's come off. This is the crucial point in the race for him on whether or not we're going to see it. But right now, update on your leader, Wayne Grassi exit. Right now, he is in turns 3 and 4. He is staying out. He is still holding on to the race to lead. He is biding his time as much as he can. The number 3 car, Mabry, he himself also staying out. He's holding on to second spot as he screams down the front straightaway. As now your new race leader is Wayne Grassi. Eddie Kerner now exiting pit road. He's all in the back straightaway. Grassi exiting turn number 2. So here's a big play out. The 98 car is still in the lead lap. He's going to stay on the lead lap. So that's going to be a big change in the race for him. As now Eddie Kerner exiting turn number crossing start finish line now. Hixenbaugh is not too far behind him to close the gap as here comes a 7 down on the pit road this time.
7 does pit in. It looks like he's going to be within the parameters. Oh, he may be speeding, though. I believe the speed limit here at Kansas Speedway is 55 miles an hour. I could be wrong. It's a little bit hard to tell here. It's worth noting, Eddie Kerner comes out of pit road ahead of the 63 at Hixenbaugh, but Hixenbaugh does close the gap. The interval is about 4 seconds. However, the 63 did pit in about, let's say, about 5 laps earlier than the 98. So we're going to see that the 98 is probably going to have more longevity in those tires than the 63 here. 7 with a pretty routine stop here. He does stay out a bit longer, so he will have more grip as we get later into the run, but he may have lost time for staying out initially.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was speeding on pit road there or not, but pit speed here is 45 miles an hour. So as we look in here, I think Eddie Kerner is going to be, should be our leader here as he crosses the line, as he is our leader. Wayne Grassi should be P2. As we are on lap 221 as we come to about 45 laps to go.
Indeed they are. The gap's 4.3 seconds, so it dropped about, I would say, 2 to 3. The gap has fallen 2 to 3 seconds, and now we're going to have to see how that works. We stall in the long run. It is obvious the 98 car has the power to make it happen, as right now he is sailing away with the race lead. 5 cars are now left on the lead lap. The first car left down the lucky dog spot is Brandon Gold in the 55. He finds himself running 6th. Wayne Grassi, he's running 5th. Jeremy Morrison, his pit stop, he pitted way earlier than anybody else on the field, so he's going to be the is out. He finds himself running in the 4th spot. Eric Wineland passes him for the 3rd spot as Bryson Hixenbaugh and Eddie Kerner still hold on to the 1-2 position as they come to complete lap 223.
The story remains the same here for the most part. As you said, Noah, a bit of a close-up between the 63 and the 98. 63, if he didn't make the adjustments, correct adjustments, he's going to have a very difficult time closing that 4.5-second gap. So outside of the top two, the closest battle on track right now appears to be for about the 9th position. Tim Reel holding position P9 over Cody Bird and Kevin Steele by only a couple of tenths of a second.
Yeah, as we've cycled through pit stops here, it looks like we now have 5 cars in the lead lap. As Wayne Grassy is the final car in the lead lap, that 7 machine. As we are actually watching the 22 of Jeremy Morrison.
Indeed, we are the 22 car we're talking about. He paid about, like, I would want to say 15 to 20 laps before anybody else did. So his tires are already very well into effect on the wear and tear on those things. So he's going to be really struggling come the end of this race. The question that remains, will we see a caution? Will we go green? Because we've gone green basically since the beginning of stage number 3. They have really done a good job of keeping these cars off the wall and keeping out of each other, as they are now just running around, lapping this race down. And that's the number one thing Eddie Kerner wants. The gap is now 5.5 seconds, approaching 6 seconds, as Fields is very much well spread out. And to give you an idea on just how big the gap is, right now, Eddie Kerner is approaching turn number 1. Hicksonball, he's just reached the start finish line. And then Eric Wineland third, he's in the middle of turn 3 and 4. So this field is very much spread out amongst his top 3. So right now we are in the midst of what is obviously the longest run of the stage, but now we finally are seeing what adjustments worked and what adjustments didn't, and we're going to see did they make enough adjustments to get him to the end, and if it did work or not, or if it's helping, or is it going to make that car wrecking loose or wreck.
98 looks pretty stable right now, building the gap consistently. If we're looking at the big winners and the big losers, 98, of course, still holding that lead. He does lose a little bit of ground to that 63, but he's starting to build that gap back up. Big loser, looks like Wayne Grassy dropped quite a bit off of Eric Wineland. As we entered the pit cycle, he was only a second or two off that 31, but now he stands about 10 seconds behind the 31, and now even behind Jeremy Morrison, who's in the 4th position.
Yeah, I feel like when he tried to stay out and for those extra few laps, I think it hurt him. I think he should have actually pit with the 31, but he decided to stay out. And, I mean, all power to him, banking on a caution, but, unfortunately it did not work out in his favor. So now, I mean, he's paying for it. So he did not get the track position he was hoping for off of that one.
Yeah, and that's really going to hurt him, because to give you an idea, you see Eddie Kerner crossing the start-finish line. Grassy's actually entering turn number 1, so he's close to going a lap down in his own right. Right now, you're looking at Bryson Hicksonball at 63. Your current points there, now looking at the 7 as we're just kind of winding through the field right now, as they're just lapping along. As we approach lap 230, we're about close, I would believe, to about 30 to 40 to go as the race winds down. As obviously the wear of these drivers are seeing the fatigue, running a full 400 miles. It is a grueling 400 miles, obviously not compared to the 600 miles for anybody of these drivers who've done both of that. They're obviously feeling the effect. They're just like, I just want to get this race done and get it out of here. But if a caution comes out, they're going to be drinking those water bottles, getting wide awake to try and put themselves in the mood to try and put up a fight for this race lead again. And that's the number one thing any of these guys can hope for, to try and catch a 98. Because if it doesn't come out, then it's race over for anybody else.
You're right. A caution here makes it an all-out sprint to the end. Because let's say we get a yellow here on lap 230, it puts us at about 30 laps to go on the restart. So right now, while things are pretty stagnant for the first part, we still have the potential for any late race incident that's going to occur. Over the last 5 laps, Kerner continues to build that gap over Hicksonball. It's over 8 seconds now. Closest battle on the lead lap between Wineland and Jeremy Morrison. 22 is staying tight with 31. It's about a 2-second gap between the two.
So you guys talk about a potential late race incident coming out. So let's say that does happen. So if you're in that situation, do you take 2 tires and try to get track position, or are you all day getting 4 tires?
Well, in a race like this and the runs that they're having, and honestly with how many laps are left, you're not in a position to really want to take 2 tires. 2 tires are around a 15 to 10 to go mark. If you go on 2 tires now, you're setting yourself up for failure, because that car is going to be way off difference with the worn tires and the fresh tires, and that's just going to kill your run unless you're just some A-class driver trying to pull a Jeff Gordon to make some miracle happen for your first win. But right now, if the way to go right now is to get the 2 tires, because or the 4 tires, get the 4 tires, get the fresh boots, get out there, set some hot laps, and try and run down that 98. But right now, it doesn't seem like a caution in question. Is the closest thing that we have to right now is Eric Wineland, who's trying to pass. I believe that is a 15 of Alan. No, yes, 15 of Alan Wheat, who's running in the 21st position. Those two are right now side by side. So right now, Wineland being held up by the 15 car as A Pro show number 3. As right now you're looking at Hicks Wineland as he's putting up in a battle for not even position, just track position at this point.
Yeah, no, to add to the topic of a potential yellow, mixing up strategies, I don't think we see much of that. For example, let's take a look at any about 15 laps so far on these set of tires. He's already seen fall off of about 1.5 seconds. And with only 5 cars on the lead lap, we're really going to see no gains as a result of only taking 2 tires with this kind of tire degradation. Gap is about 10 seconds between the top 2 right now. And Wineland's starting to build a gap on Jeremy Morrison for the 3rd position. So Wineland, as long as he keeps it clean, it looks like he may have locked up. Well, actually, I may have spoken too soon. About 10 or 15 laps ago, Wayne Grassy was 10 seconds behind that 31 machine, and now he's within about 4 seconds. So he could challenge for that podium spot here with about 30 laps to go here. A lot of lap traffic there for the 98.
Yeah, especially working his way through traffic. He seemed to get through it as he had a little bit of a wiggle there. But, he seemed to get through it just fine. I mean, I think even if it did hold him up a little bit, he does have a 9.2 second lead over that 63 machine of Bryson Higginbaugh. So, I think either way, how that would have went, as long as he didn't, get turned or make contact or anything, he's pretty much just sailing away into the sunset.
Absolutely. See, he's just bobbing and weaving through traffic as any driver would, trying to get through like a rush hour to getting home as he's eyeing his home for victory lane. As we approach the 20 to go mark, now we're actually about 30 to go. My eye right now is on Wayne Grassy because Jeremy Morrison about 2 laps ago was on his back bumper and they were fighting for the 4th spot. As is obvious now, Jeremy Morrison's tires started to set in and fall apart. Is now the gap is just really spreading now as Morrison has really fell off the pace. Let's look at the last couple lap times that he's had. His last lap, if I'm trying to pull it up here on his race, sadly with all the number of laps that we ran. Yeah, so his last lap was a 31.663. Lap before that, 31.447. And that is compared to the 7 car of Wayne Grassy, who has been trying to find him on track, but sadly because of all the lap cars in pit road. Yeah, so 31.076. Half a second gap, and that is the difference between the 7 and the 22, and that's for the 4th and 5th position on track right now. But even then, not too far behind him, exiting turn number 2 is Eddie Kerner, so they're even about to go a lap down as Eddie's sitting at 31.2. So actually, so 31.2 to Wayne Grassy's 31.0. So actually, Grassy's running faster than Kerner right now.
And that's what new tires will do for you here at Kansas, or really any 1.5 mile track for that matter. Save your stuff and it'll pay dividends. And he's about only 2 seconds behind the podium spot of Eric Wineland right now. He's going to have about 27 laps here. So as long as he keeps saving his stuff, and he's on tires that are about 15 laps younger than the 7s. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong driver. Grassy's tires about 5 laps younger than that of the 31s as we ride on board with the gyro cam on the number 7.
Yeah, that 7 machine, he's had a pretty good day so far. He started off 14th. He's riding around in P4 right now. As we're coming up with 26 laps to go now, I'd say he's had a pretty solid day. I think he might have screwed himself a little bit on pit strategy, but, I'd still call P4, if that's where he ends up, a pretty solid day.
Absolutely, P4, regardless, is any position that pay off in the end, especially for your second race. And that just puts an exclamation point on what happened last week. Last week, he ran up in the top 5 the entire latter half of the race before getting taken out by Wineland, and a bit of a retaliation move that happened. Wineland felt really bad about that. They apologized. It's made up, I would believe, as now Wineland is running off of turn number 4. And to give you an idea, Grassi is absolutely pulling on him. He is closing the gap down to that 31. So you're talking about maybe that late strategy screwed him out of a win. Well, it's not screwing him out of very much because he is coming after that 7 car, that 31 car of Wineland to take back the 3rd spot. But even then, about a half a track away from him is where you're going to find the 63 car. So the best he's going to get is 3rd, and he's going to take that and say thank you very much. But he's got to be careful because not too far behind them is the leader of Eddie Kerner. As they exit off of turn number 4, so does Eddie. Eddie's in the middle of turn 3 and 4. So while we're watching these two fight for position, they got to be careful because if they aren't, one of them might go a lap down and the caution comes down and now ruin it for both of them, really.
Yeah, Noah, but however, it's getting to the point where the chances of a yellow just continue to decrease and decrease at this point. So I think once that 7 gets there, he's definitely going to want to race for the spot. Don't want to get in the way in the 98 too much. However, they're really fighting for their lives here. They stay on the lead lap and wait for a yellow. It definitely gives them the opportunity to go out there. Maybe the 98 and the 63 get together on a restart. 7's closed the gap. He's only 3/10 down according to timing and scoring. So the overcut may be paying dividends here. I don't think he was ever going to have too much of a chance at the 63 for second without trouble for the 63. The 63 has just had a bit better pace than the 31 and the 7. But I would definitely call this a very solid day for the 7 if he gets by 31 and holds on to it here. 31 does have a little bit of right front damage there.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're seeing here that the 7 of Wayne Grassi, he's just getting a heck of a run as we go down the front stretch into turn 1 here. As he gets up to the bumper and he's going to go down to the low side. He gets a run. It looks like I think he's going to clear him here as we go down the back straightaway. I am absolutely wrong. He did not clear him as he's going to pull up behind him and try and get a run as we go into turn 3.
Yes, they are. As a 7 car trying to back up his corner to try and get her a run. Will we see it work out at turn number 4? Not quite. He's going to clear him coming through the tri-oval. It's a complete lap 246 for them as they screen back off into turn number 1 as the fight continues for the 3rd spot. They're doing everything they can. They fought this hard with each other at Charlotte. They've been fighting this hard with each other all day. But now the 7 car has met the guy that he's been fighting for the entire last 2 races and has been his mate, basically his kryptonite. He'll have such a good run going, and then once you cut up to him, it just stalls out. So that's about where he is. He's the 3rd fastest car on track, obviously, on the 3rd or 4th, as now he just puts up the fight with 31 trying to do anything they can, as they're actually, I believe, somewhat opening a bit of a gap from Kerner, running away with each other, but not that much really, as now they are exiting off of turn number 2 at the moment, as Kerner is actually entering turn number 1. So the gap, my bad, is actually closing, but still, they're holding on to it pretty well.
Kerner completes lap 247, making it 20 laps remaining. Less than about 10 minutes of action here remaining at Kansas Speedway, barring a yellow flag. And the 7 is alongside 31, I believe. Battle for the 3rd spot. Side by side on the entry to 1. No one's going to give on the entry. 31 above that white line. Right up against that safer barrier. Going to be dead even off of 2. Oh, in the wall for the 31.
He actually tapped the wall there a little bit. Doesn't seem like it really hurt him that much. Alongside, the 7 goes into turn 3 on the bottom. Will he be able to clear him as they're still alongside entering 4? Looks like the 31's going to have the preferred line here on the outside as he just surges ahead at the line.
Yeah, and you can tell that 31 car is a little plowing tight on exit. He is really struggling off the corner. He has the speed on the straightaway. He has the speed on entry, but if you look at him, he washes up the racetrack and that's the let off, but this time he's going to be able to clear the 7. Now the 36 car lap traffic of Dakota Knoll, who's running back in the 13th position. He's 2 laps down. He's going to create a little bit of a time for a break. The break and calm down a little bit, regroup, but not for long. Here comes the 7 car. He's going to get held up by the 36. They're going to block each other down to the apron, all the way down to the grass. They're almost 3 wide. Not even battling, only 2 of them battling for the 3rd spot. As now here comes the crossover move. Can he clear him this time? No, he's not. The 31 car is going to reel him back in on Eggs, and now they're going to go side by side down the back straightaway as they enter into turn number 3. As we are really close to seeing maybe what could be a wreck if these 2 aren't careful, because they are uber aggressive on each other, trying to take over that third spot.
That 7 was wicked loose off the 2, but he hangs on to it here. Not able to stay side by side through the trioval, but he's not giving up, and he still has 15 laps to try to settle this here between him and the 31. He ducks low one more time. Does not have quite the run that he did last time. He was almost able to complete a slide job the last time. 31 comes through with a pretty strong run down the back straightaway. 31 of Eric Wineland pulls a gap of a couple tenths of a second, not giving up in the number 7 machine.
Yeah, it's just crazy. These guys are going back and forth and back and forth. And actually, I can see back, if you might not be able to see him in his mirror, but you can actually see Eddie Kerner further back there as he's actually opened up his lead even more. He's got 12 seconds on Bryson Hixenbaugh as he's making a run trying to see if he can lap the 7 and the 31. You know, as he's taken 15 laps to go, he might be able to get into the mix of this battle.
Indeed he is. My eye right now is on Tommy Amos. Talked about him. He's the guy trying to better himself in the point standings. He came out of the pits around the 13th spot. He fell outside the top 10. He's rebounding. He finds himself running 8th position. He's right in front of where you find Wineland and Grassi is now. He makes his way down the back straightaway. He really rebounded himself and later in this run. As now here comes Wineland with a dive bomb on the 30. He is doing everything he can to try and break away the gap to the 7 car. As now there's a little bit of a buffer between him and the 30 car, but that's for long. The 30 car will move out of the way, open the door for the 7 car to go into low, so he's going to create another run diving down into turn number 1. He's going to stay down there and go to the inside, another side by side again. These two are just unrelenting with each other.
Race may be 400 miles, but these guys are still putting on a show here in the last 20 or so. 7 not giving up, but the tires have definitely started to level out despite him being on 5-lap pressure tires. Tries the middle line that time through 3 and 4. Works pretty well. He's going to gain a bit down the straightaway. He might be side by side as we enter into 1, although the 28 of Tommy Amos sitting in P8 could be used as a pick by the 31. 7 has to go high.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was like, using it as a pick, so he had to take away, the 28 actually took away the bottom line of the 7 there, so it might have actually screwed him up, but I don't think it did, because he actually had a run down the backstretch as he runs to the inside here, but I don't think he's going to really have much going here as we exit 4, so expect to see him fall back to the bottom and then fall in behind him here. There's almost contact there across the line. Looks like they reversed lines there as they get clear down into 1.
These two are oh so aggressive with 11 laps to go. Actually, 10 laps to go because of where Eddie is as they exit off of turn number 2. They're now side by side, all the way up on his door, using the side drop to shoot him off into turn number 3. Can't make the bottom work as he has to check up, which is going to allow the 31 car to get the run. Off of turn number 4 they go. This is now 10 laps to go for them, but as for the timing and scoring, they're actually approaching 9 laps to go. So as they scream off into turn number 1 this time by, the 7 car is finally peeking ahead, which is what he's been trying to do the last 20 or so laps, as he has been all around his 31 car. Again, he gets loose off of turn number 2. That's been biting everybody, especially him, as he is doing everything he can to hold on to that bottom line. Still on his inside, side by side they go through turns 3 and 4. 31 car all the way up against the wall, as he's going to touch it. He's going to hit the wall again. He's loose. Can he save it? He does. He's going to hold on to it and fall back in line, but it's going to cause even more damage to the right side of that machine.
9 laps to go for Eddie Kerner. That might be all she wrote. Might have to settle for that. Heck of a job by Wayne Grassi. He did take the overcut on that last pit stop. He stretched the run all the way to fumes. Tires were probably absolutely gone. Pays off with the 3rd place run. Still trying to stay on the lead lap in case we do get a yellow here in the last 8 laps or so. Wayne Grassi P3, Bryson Hixenbaugh P2. Eddie Kerner continues to lead by about 14 seconds here at Kansas Speedway. 8 laps to go.
Yeah, as you see, we're on board with the battle for 3rd place here. You got Eddie Kerner right behind him. So, I mean, is he going to try and put them a lap down? Or, actually, I feel like now, since they're not really battling, I think he's just going to try and pass them. But before, I think he might have actually just tried to let him battle it out. But, you know, now he's got that run going. As you can see now, he's actually making a run on the 31. He's going to dive to the bottom and put him a lap down. And now he's going to try and work on that 7 car to put him a lap down.
Yes, he is absolutely putting on a clinic. He has been the monster on this racetrack that has haunted every single driver. I talked about in the middle of this run that we saw the fact that the number one key to these guys is bully this guy, keep him in dirty air, and hold him up, and that failed. And now look at what's happened. The gap has stretched out so far that almost 2 cars are left on the lead lap as he's approaching the 7 car. The only problem for the 98 car is the 7 car has been running almost equal lap times to him. The last time for Grassy was a 31.5. The last lap for the 98 was a 31.2. So a little bit of a drop off for the 7 because of the fight he had to put up. He has to check up on the bottom. That's going to allow the 98 car to scream around the outside. He's going to put him a lap down as now coming out of into turn number 3. He's going to approach 5 laps to go here at Kansas Speedway.
5 laps this time by for the number 98. Gap from him to second place, 14.5 seconds and growing. And that makes it now him and just Bryson Hickenbaugh that are going to be the only cars on the lead lap. What a clinic by the guy who won the Landon Castle qualifying challenge a couple weeks ago at Darlington, beating out a lot of stout competition on the iRacing.com service. And, he's putting on a show here today. As we said earlier, he's doing a heck of a job in the Road to Pro series. He could be looking at being in the iRacing Coca-Cola series here within the next year.
Yeah, all I know is that as we have now taken 5 laps to go here, all I know is that if I'm Bryson Hickenbaugh, I am hoping for that yellow flag to come out so I can have one last shot.
Going to turn number 1. I'm sorry. I really apologize for jumping in on you there. I almost thought we were going to have a caution. The 53 car got into contact with the 15. That was going to cause a massive checkout for the 98. He has a thread of needle 3 wide in the middle as he sent it back into 3. Again, I really apologize, Patton, but I honestly thought we were going to have a caution there.
Yeah, I was actually watching that right there whenever I mentioned it. I was hoping, or I wasn't hoping, but, if I'm in the seat of the 63 machine, I was hoping that was going to bring out the yellow. But, in terms of looking at it now, I don't know if we will have that yellow flag come out, as the 15 is actually in front of this 31 right now. So I think that was the 15 actually got a little sideways there. But I think that's all she wrote.
Absolutely, as they make their way out of turn number 4, they're going to approach 2 laps to go this time by. The 98 car, all he has to do right now is do everything in his power to try and hold on to that race lead as they scream off into turn number 1. They don't even have to worry about really trying to put the rest of the field lap down because Hickenbaugh finds himself. He is actually kind of holding on pretty well. He's still about a half the track away from him on the other side of the racetrack as entering into turn number 1 now is going to go Hickenbaugh, but out of turn number 3 and 4 is where you're going to find the 98 car of Eddie Kerner. He's going to take the white flag this time by, sailing it off back into turn number 1. He has absolutely put on a clinic. We talked about how good he is of an iRacer. The fact that he won the Landon Castle Challenge. He won that they call him Mr. 2000K for a reason. He proved himself. He's on the road to the pro, wanted to go to the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Cup Series, and now this is one step further. Out of turn number 4, the pride of Illinois. He has been a monster among men for the rest of the field. He's going to do it today. Eddie Kerner in his debut is going to win the Wood Project presents this presents the healthcare workers 400 at Kansas Speedway. Hickenbaugh is going to take over second, and third is going to go to, I believe, Wayne Grassy. Fourth, I believe, is going to go to Wineland, and the fifth actually is going to go to Mabry as he exits off of turn number 3.
Excellent job by Brian Mabry. We really didn't talk about him much. Really slid his way up the leaderboard. I think he'll be really happy with the P5 here today.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So we end up there. Eddie Kerner ends up with the win. Hickenbaugh P2. Those were the only 2 cars on a lead lap. And Eric Wineland, or Wayne Grassy, Wineland, and Mabry around at the top 5. Long race, 400 miles. Overall, ended up pretty well for those guys.
And as you see, he's going to burn it down. That tie-dye number 98, who has put on an absolute performance of a race, as now he is going to scream that 98 Ford and kill every last bit of the horses that he used to get this win, as just an incredible performance as this race 2 hours, 53 minutes, and 19 seconds is the race time. As now we finally get to burn it down. As he, on his debut win, says, "Rip off those rookie stripes because I am definitely not one of them." As he has made his name known here in the Galaxy Cup Series. As now, depending on what the rules are for the series, he might have locked himself into the playoffs.
Very impressive in his series debut. Probably what we were expecting from the 98, though. He had a lot of competition early on. Of course, some of it did fall victim to a lot of early race attrition. Hicksabel gave him a heck of a run on a lot of the short runs today, but, just pure domination here today at Kansas.
Domination is exactly what it was. He had a little bit of a battle with the 63, but once he was clear of the 63, it was just the Eddie Kerner show from there.
And you see, he still burns it down. Let's try and see if we can get a race rundown here for, let's try this again. The Billion Wood Projects 400 presents the Salute to Healthcare Workers 400 at Kansas Speedway. Your race winner, obviously Eddie Kerner, led the most laps tonight. He started on pole and absolutely dominated. He takes the race win. Runner-up in this race is going to be Bryson Hicksonbaugh in the second position. He finishes the last car on the lead lap, believe it or not. 15 seconds behind. First car lap down goes to Wayne Grassley in the 7 Pennzoil machine. Pretty good rebound for him after what happened last week at Charlotte. Eric Wineland finishes the race in fourth. Brian Mabry steals the top 5 position. He finds himself in the finishing 5th for that number 3 car. Jeremy Morrison, he finishes in the 6th position after that early pit stop. He's able to hold on for a top 10. Brandon Gola in the 55 car, also his second race. He debuted yesterday last week, at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tommy Amos, really good points day for him. He finishes in the 8th position. 9th is where you're going to find Kevin Steele, another good rebound after Charlotte, after going almost 100 laps down and holding on to that top 20 spot. And then Cody Bird is going to round out your top 10 and the 10th position, 3 laps down.
We keep it rolling here as we go 11 through 20 here. Preston McRae is going to come in pretty quietly with an 11th place finish. Pretty solid day there for the number 53 Dakota Knoll. Will finish 12th place after staying pretty close to the top 10 most of the day. Randy Drumhiller in 13th. Rich Petrucco had a lot of trouble in the middle stages of the race. He had a pretty strong car, but suffered a lot of incidents. Tim Briel in 15th position. Jonathan Delani was off pace for most of the day, but he stayed in after an early incident, finished P16. Damaris Hickenbottom also struggled quite a bit throughout the day, but he'll take home 17th. Nolan Hodgson, 18th. Alan Hewitt, 19th. And Matthew Woods, after a top 5 run in the middle stages of the race, will finish 20th.
Yeah, 21st is going to round up with Ryan Samuelson as he brought out a few yellows tonight. Josh Coppernall, 22nd. 23rd, Christopher Hammond. 24th, Cameron Stone. 25th, Patrick Mucci. 26th, Cam Caldwell. 27th, Dallas. Sorry, I screwed that up. 28th, Cody Goza. 29th, Daniel Fields. And 30th, Zach Proff's. Really bad night for him because he was on the chase bubble. And then rounding out the field was Logan Simmons, Dalton Mobley, and Steven Sims.
And that's going to wrap it up here for the running order for tonight's A Billion Wood Projects 400 presents the Salute to Healthcare Workers 400. Stay tuned with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with your top 3 finishers to round out tonight's broadcast. Welcome back, race fans, as we are live here for the post-race coverage of the A Billion Wood Project's 400 presents the Salute to Healthcare Workers 400 live here at Kansas Speedway. Joining us now is going to be your runner-up finisher for tonight's race, Mr. Bryson Hickson-Bob. Bryson, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, you ran about runner-up to lead the whole race, but sadly it doesn't look like you had enough for the 98. Just how much of a challenge was it to try and chase down that 98 car?
Well, after my adjustments didn't work, I knew there wasn't a whole lot I could do under green. I tried to pit early before him to see if maybe I could catch up a little bit, but it just wasn't enough. He was still clear of me after pit stops, and he just drove away, and that was about all that I could do.
You guys weren't really able to get that whole green flag run going until that last stage. Just how much of a difference was it going into that long run compared to all the caution fest that we had around the first half of the race?
It was definitely interesting because you had guys that didn't really know how their car would handle on a long run because we didn't have any early in the race. You had guys, I think the 16 had some issues with his car was way too loose in the long run. Wayne finished third, but he was falling off a little bit until Eric hit the wall and kind of ended his race. But it was just guys not knowing really the balance of their cars changed a little bit. There wasn't a whole lot you could do as Eddie had the speed and I just did.
Coming out of a race like this, you were lucky enough to hold on to a second place finish and keep your points lead. What kind of a takeaway do you have coming out of Kansas looking forward to the next races on the calendar?
I guess my biggest takeaway is that you can get a lot of points early, even if you don't think you have the best car. Like I pretty much knew all race that Eddie was probably going to be faster than me, but I was still able to get 2 stage wins. I was able to get playoff points, even without the best car in the field. So that's a big thing to take away from this race, is that I can still have a great day.
All right, before I let you go here, do you have anybody you want to thank for your run here tonight?
I'd like to thank Eric Weinland. He's in Discord, calls me all race, and we were working together trying to take down Eddie. Tim Rail joined our team this week. It was his debut. He finished the race without wrecking the car, so we did good.
All right, well, congratulations on that runner-up finish, and hopefully we see more of you next time we're on with you guys.
Yep, thanks, guys. Hope to see you next time you're broadcasting.
All right, just gonna wind that out, as I believe we now actually have our race winner that's gonna join us here in the booth. And for that, I'll hand it over to Trey Shuttlesworth.
Thank you, Noah. Eddie Kerner, you put on an absolute clinic out there, even if you were having a tough time on the short runs in the early stages of the race. A lot of competition from guys like Hicks. About how does it feel to come out and get a debut win here in the Galaxy Cup Series?
It's great. It was. I've been looking for a league to run and get some nice green flag racing in. So at the end of there, it's a nice run. And yeah, my car wasn't set up for short run. Bryson was killing me on the high side there, and I was just trying to run the bottom. Run the bottom there, you save your tires for the first 30, and then you can start pushing the last 20 laps of the run. Yeah, it was fun.
So on the in the final stage there, was there any specific strategy call that you were going with, or just more so looking at splitting the run in half?
I was just more looking to split the run in half and take it easy on the pit road, and yeah, just make sure I didn't do anything dumb.
Not sure if you've been running any like official series at Kansas this week. Have you been able to translate what you've been doing this week over into the race here tonight?
No, these were actually my first laps on the track. My team's been running all the NIS Opens, and we've been doing pretty well there. And I thought I'd just have some fun and run, and the setup was quick.
All right. Anything that you can translate from the long runs here over to, say, Road to Pro action, where you're also in a car that's not too high on horsepower, but it still has a lot of downforce?
yeah, the big thing is just keeping all your inputs smooth, making sure the you're not twitching too much, and same thing on the throttle, making sure you're easy off and easy back on, and just be smooth.
All right. Thank you. Any sponsors or anyone you want to thank tonight?
Just thank Team Nexus for putting the setup together, and Robert Miller and James Mullins for putting in the time on the set.
All right. Thank you for your time, Eddie.
Thank you.
Eddie Kerner is your winner here, Kansas Speedway in the Galaxy Cup Series. So next up, I believe, is going to be Trey Patton, who's going to speak to third place finisher Wayne Grassi.
Hey Wayne, this is Trey Patton up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. You copy me?
Yes, sir. So looks like you started up third, or started 14th. I'm sorry, and ended up P3. You were pretty much the talk of the race a lot today, you know, because we mentioned a lot of you last week, and then we just kind of had our eye on you tonight. So how was the car?
Car was great, but I didn't have anything for the leader. He was in another zip code. I just couldn't quite keep up to him, but the car really felt good all night. I kept loosening it up. Pretty much every pit stop, I made some small adjustment to loosen it up, and towards the end there, I was pretty fast, but I had a heck of a time passing low at that point because of the looseness of the car. So that kind of hurt me a little bit getting around cars, but other than that, the car was great.
Yeah, especially towards the end there, we saw you and the 31 of Eric. You guys just were putting on a show for us up here. We just weren't sure if you were going to clear him here, clear him there, get the pass, and then he passed you back, and you just really had a lot of TV time there. Just really gave us something to watch, and it was really, really entertaining.
Yeah, that was too much like work there.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing more of you. Is there anybody or any sponsors you want to thank for tonight?
I'd like to thank Shell Pennzoil. My father owned a Shell station when I was a boy, and I have allegiance to them. And I'm, grateful to the Galaxy League. I'm glad to be here. I'm enjoying myself.
Well, we're glad to have you up here in the booth, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of you up here. And good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks a lot.
All right, that is Wayne Grassi. So back to you, Noah.
All right, and that'll wrap up our top 3 interviews here tonight for the Galaxy Cup Series, concluding our race coverage here for the Billy and Wood Projects LLC presents Salutes to the Healthcare Workers 400. And again, I just want to give a quick shout out to Billy and Wood Projects LLC. They really kind of stepped up for the series with the sponsorship, and without them, we wouldn't really have the opportunity to be broadcasting these events and talking to these drivers and having the chance to broadcast here on Saturday night. So I'm really looking forward to whatever comes in the future to work with these guys. But again, that's going to conclude our coverage tonight for the Galaxy Cup Series race here at Kansas Speedway. We here at PitStop TV thank all of you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Join us Tuesday as the Lucky Dog Sim Racing Series tackle the twisty turns of Road Atlanta, and on Thursday as the SRCA takes the IndyCar Series to the fastest 1.5 miles, that is Texas Motor Speedway. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV and on Twitter at PitStopTV_, and make sure to follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV and on YouTube by searching PitStop TV. This has been Trey Shuttlesworth, Trey Patton, and Noah Carmichael as we enjoyed calling this 400 miles to you, and we hope to see you again next time.